Chapter 245. Follow the three Radiance brothers landed in three positions outside the battling platform. After they landed on the ground, they immediately regained their spirits. All of them had faces full of confusion as they recalled how they had been knocked off the stage. The audience in the spectator stands had the same expression as the three brothers. All of them were stunned. The invincible Triple Radiance, who could defeat the 9th-level Martial Body Realm, who had won many matches in a row, had actually lost to Qin Yun. Qin Yun had only just stepped into the 8th-level Martial Body Realm. Furthermore, he was restricted by many restrictions on the battling platform. He had no chance of winning at all, but he had won. Lan Fengjin and Xue Zai's faces were also filled with surprise as they looked at each other. The usually cold and indifferent Xue Zai's pretty oval face was flushed red. Lan Fengjin had wheat-colored skin, and at this moment, she was also extremely shy. However, it was not easy to see. The entire audience let out a series of shouts of impossible. Many people believed that it was impossible for Qin Yun to defeat Triple Radiance. They said that Qin Yun was cheating and hoped that the referee would say something. The old referee went to check on the injuries of Triple Radiance and discovered that they were only absent-minded. They had suffered a mental attack, causing them to be in a bad state of mind. There were no injuries on his body. "We're fine, we lost." De Yao recovered a little as he looked at Qin Yun with a face full of admiration. He shouted, "We are convinced of our defeat." At this moment, the entire audience burst into an uproar. Triple Radiance had actually admitted defeat. De Yao knew very well what had happened just now. They had been attacked by Qin Yun's extremely powerful mental energy. As they also cultivated mental energy, they knew very well how terrifying Qin Yun's mental energy was. Even if they had defenses, they would not be able to withstand such a mental attack. On one hand, it was because they relied too much on their mental energy. They were extremely sensitive to mental energy fluctuations, so once they were attacked by mental energy, they would also suffer great damage. This was mainly because their cultivation of mental energy was not profound enough. The old referee also shouted, "Qin Yun has obtained victory in this match. Triple Radiance defeated." Qin Yun had won. Many people had lost their crystal coins. Naturally, they were unhappy and booed at Qin Yun. As for Qin Yun, he was extremely happy. He walked down the dueling platform with a smile and headed to the arena hall. He paid the crystal coins and asked the old man to arrange the next match. "Brat, I was right? Those three fellows are very ordinary, aren't they?" The old man laughed. Qin Yun had originally blamed the old man, but now he had to admit that the Triple Radiance were indeed ordinary. He nodded. "Of course, they're very ordinary, but that's only to you. To others, it's extremely powerful." The old man chuckled and said, "You are old Devil Do student. The spirit concentration kill you learned is specialized in restraining them." Qin Yun said with smile, "Senior, I have wronged you before. I am sorry. It's fine. Next, I'll arrange someone easier for you to fight. Prepare to go on stage in the evening." The old man chuckled. "You're old Devil Do student, so I'll take care of you." Qin Yun smiled treacherously and cupped his fists at the elder. Then, he left the arena hall and climbed up the stairs to the spectator stands. Xue Zai blushed and whispered to Lan Fengjin, "Sister Lan, are we really going to kiss that brat Qin Yun?" Lan Fengjin said unhappily, "That's the only way. If we don't agree, he'll definitely say that we don't keep our promises. Although we are women, we can't be as untrustworthy as some men. What's there to be afraid of? Isn't it just a kiss on the face? What's the big deal? Only the three of us know about it." He wouldn't dare to spread it around. His wife, Xiao Yuelan, is very powerful. If Xiao Yuelan were to find out, he would be in big trouble. When Xue Zai heard Lan Fengjin's words, she seemed to feel a lot more at ease. She nodded and whispered, "Fortunately, we didn't agree to kiss him. Otherwise," Qin Yun walked over with a smile. He looked at the two beauties and smiled very happily. Lan Fengjin and Xue Zai were at the very back. There were no seats here, and they were all standing, so there were very few people. Lan Fengjin rolled her eyes at him. These three fellows from Triple Radiance are really useless. They actually lost to you. I've misjudged you. Then, don't forget what you promised me. Qin Yun's eyes were incomparably bright as he said, Lan Fengjin could only accept it and replied in a low voice. Qin Yun had a smug look on his face as he said with a smile, if you're willing to bet, you must be willing to lose. Good job. Qin Yun, how did you defeat the three of them? Shuezai was extremely curious. Lan Fengjin also looked at him. She wanted to know the reason and waited for his answer. Qin Yun immediately answered seriously. I used my mental power to attack. The three brothers cultivate mental power, but it's not profound enough, and they have a huge flaw. Although they're good at using their mental power to control objects, their mental defense is very poor. Furthermore, they need the three of them to work together to be able to control it well. They use their mental power to set up a triangular formation. The entire triangular formation is covered with their mental power, and after I release my mental power, I can follow their mental power and attack the source of their mental power. Lan Fengjin and Shuezai were inwardly impressed. They did not know that there was such a complicated process, especially Lan Fengjin. She had a deeper understanding of Qin Yun's mental power. I wonder if Blue Spirit Star Palace doesn't have a good mental power expert. Otherwise, the three of them wouldn't have such a huge flaw. If it's a life and death battle, they will definitely die if they meet me. Qin Yun smiled. Of course, if I could let go of my hands and fight, I wouldn't need to use my mental power to kill them. Lan Fengjin said enviously, You damned brat. Your mental power is strong, your talent in inscriptions is very high, and your martial spirit is also very good. I'm so envious. Sister Lan, you are in the martial Dao realm. You also make us very envious. Qin Yun said with a smile. He also knew that the 9 Yang Divine Spirit had been of great help to him. As for the 9 Yang Divine Spirit, it had a lot to do with Xie Karu and Qin Yun's mother. However, Qin Yun did not know much about it. In the evening, it was finally Qin Yun's turn. In this match, Qin Yun's opponent was a middle-aged man from the Lin Xianwu Academy. Although he was at the 8th level martial body realm, his strength was very weak. Qin Yun had only roared twice to blast his opponent off the stage. Qin Yun easily won once again. He now had 7 million Xian points. With another 3 million Xian points, he would be able to challenge a high-level warrior and compete with Zhou Zhonghui. After the arena dispersed, Qin Yun excitedly returned to the Heaven's Pride Academy and returned to the small building by the river. Wash your face clean. Lan Fengjin followed behind him and rolled her eyes at him as she snorted. Qin Yun hurriedly washed his face and sat on a chair. He said with a smile, You can begin now. When Lan Fengjin saw that Shuezai was very shy, she sighed helplessly. Although she was also a little shy, she still decisively leaned over and kissed Qin Yun's handsome face. Qin Yun only felt a wild fragrance assault him and a slight warmth on his cheeks. He did not have any other beautiful feelings. It was different from what was described in some novels. When Shuezai saw this, her ice-cold face turned even redder. Although she was usually cold and had the demeanor of a strong woman, she was currently as shy as a little girl. She bit her cherry lips and closed her eyes. She hit the other side of Qin Yun's face and gently tapped his handsome face with her cherry lips. Qin Yun took a slight whiff of the faint fragrance and said with a smile, It's my turn to kiss you, hee-hee. Lan Fengjin crossed her arms in front of her chest and stood there coolly. When she saw Qin Yun's excited expression, she said disdainfully, Damn brat, look at how happy you are. Come and kiss my face. Qin Yun was also very straightforward as he kissed Lan Fengjin's cheek. Lan Fengjin snorted, Boring. Shuezai lowered her head slightly. Not long after, Qin Yun kissed her delicate and fair cheek, causing her face to blush. Zai, your face is better than Sisterland's, Qin Yun said with a chuckle. That's true. After all, Zai is young and her skin is white and beautiful. Unlike me, I'm dark and not that beautiful, so what's there to kiss? Lan Fengjin curled her lips and sat on a chair. She picked up a pot of water and poured 3 cups. Lan Fengjin was indeed not very beautiful. Her skin was also the color of wheat, but her entire body was filled with wildness, especially when she was wearing shorts, revealing her robust waist and long legs. She was even more sexy. In addition, there was a hint of charm in her valiance, making her extremely charming. I'm going back to my room to cultivate. My martial spirit hasn't fully recovered. After Shui Zai finished speaking, she rushed into her room. Qin Yun said with a chuckle, I never expected Zai to have a woman's side. When I first saw her, I thought she was as strong and valiant as you. She's just a young girl yearning for love. You don't understand women at all. Lan Fengjin smiled gently. Sister Lan is still the best. She's free and easy and direct. I like people like you. Qin Yun took the cup from her and said with a smile. Lan Fengjin's eyes were filled with charm as she said with a charming smile, I thought you only liked those who were white and gentle. Do you really like a wild woman like me? Qin Yun drank a cup of water and said with a smile, I like them all. Lan Fengjin rolled her eyes at him before standing up. Just as she was about to return to her room, she sensed 3 auras coming from outside. Triple radiance is here. Qin Yun also sensed it as his expression changed slightly. What are they doing here? Don't tell me you can't accept your loss. Dong dong dong. Someone knocked on the door. Lan Fengjin hurriedly went over and opened the door. She saw 3 handsome youths standing outside. Greetings, Martial Uncle Lan. The 3 youths shouted at the same time. They even bowed in a very polite manner. What is it? Come in and talk. Lan Fengjin invited them into the hall. Qin Yun was secretly alarmed. Triple Radiance actually addressed Lan Fengjin as Martial Uncle. It was obvious that Lan Fengjin's seniority was very high. Hello, what's the matter? Qin Yun said with a smile. Qin Yun, we want to follow you. De Yao said as the other 2 nodded. Chapter 246. Totem Martial Spirit. If the 3 brothers were not defeated by Qin Yun, they would still be very strong in the arena. Now, they said that they wanted to follow Qin Yun, which was unexpected for Lan Fengjin. You guys, you're not here to play, are you? Qin Yun was stunned for a moment before asking. No, we're sincerely following you. My lord, please accept us. De Yao and his 2 younger brothers were full of sincerity. Lan Fengjin, who was at the side, frowned and said, Have the 3 of you been beaten silly by Qin Yun? You are disciples of the Eastern Palace, and your future is limitless. Are you going to follow a little brat so casually? Martial Uncle Lan, please understand us. You should know that our future in the Eastern Palace is very limited. We all cultivate mental strength, but there aren't many masters in the Eastern Palace. De Yao said, although the main palace is young, his mental strength is very strong. If we follow him, there will only be benefits and no disadvantages. Lan Fengjin said, It's up to you. Now, let's see if this kid is willing to accept you. Da Yao looked at Qin Yun, waiting for his reply. Qin Yun's eyes widened, not knowing how to face it. I'm very busy. I don't have time to guide you in your cultivation. Qin Yun said, Besides, I don't like trouble. I like to be alone and free. It's best if you take back this decision. We are not troublesome. You just need us to follow you. Even if you don't guide us, we won't have any complaints. When you need us, as long as we receive a notification, we will immediately serve you. De Yao quickly said. Lan Fengjin patted Qin Yun's shoulder and said with a smile, Did you hear that? This is a great advantage. Don't you want it? Although you all look very sincere, but sincerity has to be shown through actions. Qin Yun was in a difficult position. He thought of a way to reject their following. He really did not need servants right now. De Yao quickly said, My lord, we have already thought about it. Tomorrow morning, we will go and challenge you. We will let you win in the martial arts competition and let you obtain Xian points. Qin Yun was stunned. He was somewhat moved. De Yao said very sincerely, Each of us has 50 million Xian points. If Master needs it, we will continuously challenge you and lose to you until our Xian points are 0. Qin Yun felt that this was not bad. He nodded and said, I don't need that many Xian points for now. How about this? You guys challenge me tomorrow and let me earn another 3 million Xian points. At that time, I will agree to let you follow me. After the three brothers heard this, they were extremely happy. They knelt down on one knee and cupped their fists at Qinyan. They shouted, "Greetings, master." All right. Don't call me that in front of others. All right, help me investigate Zhou Zhonghui's matter. It's best to be more detailed, Qinyan said. He suddenly felt that the three brothers were still very useful. All right, let's go now. After Dayo got up, he hurriedly left the small building with his two younger brothers. Lan Fengjin teased, "My lord, you're so impressive." Qinyan also said with a smile, "Come, quickly give master a kiss. Get lost." Lan Fengjin laughed and scolded, then went back to her room to rest. Qinyan was not tired. After he returned to his room, he took out the star guiding spirit inscription that Lan Fengjin had given him and carefully studied it. He spread out the 9 yang spirit convergence array on the ground and sat in the middle. As he absorbed the 9 suns' spiritual energy, he looked at the star guiding spirit inscription. At the same time, he also used his inner strength to stimulate the Vajra bone marrow to produce inner supreme force. Then, he used the vibrating inner yuan in his heart to absorb the inner supreme force. The inner yuan needed to absorb a large amount of inner supreme force in order to transform into a Vajra inner core. If there were no pills to eat, it would take a very long process to succeed. Qinyan looked at the star guiding spirit inscription for an entire night. The next morning, he was still full of energy. As soon as he arrived at the arena's main hall, he received a notice that Triple Radiance had challenged him and told him to prepare himself. This news had also spread throughout the entire arena. Just like yesterday, the audience in the arena were filled with incomparable anticipation and excitement. They all believed that Triple Radiance challenge to Qinyan was to take revenge for yesterday's grudge. Qinyan was still suspicious of Triple Radiance. However, even if the other party was up to no good, he had nothing to worry about. That was because he could use his powerful mental energy to kill the three brothers. Lan Fengjin knew that Qinyan would definitely win, so she had bet a lot of crystal coins on Qinyan. If Qinyan could win, she would be able to make a huge profit. "Sister Lan, how much did you bet on Qinyan?" Shuezai asked. She had returned to her room early yesterday and did not come to look for Qinyan. "I bet 300 million crystal coins. If that damn brat Qinyan wins, the arena will give me 600 million crystal coins." Lan Fengjin said with a smile. "Qinyan borrowed 300 million from me previously. I've also won it back from him. I bet 50 million crystal coins. If I really win, I'll have 100 million crystal coins." Although Shuezai did not have a smile on her face, her beautiful eyes were extremely bright and filled with joy. This time, the vast majority of people believed that Triple Radiance would definitely win. This was because they felt that Triple Radiance would definitely not fall in the same place twice. Furthermore, the fact that they had challenged Qinyan meant that they were filled with confidence. Qinyan's match with Triple Radiance was scheduled for noon, just like yesterday. Everyone was looking forward to Qinyan's match. Therefore, the few matches in the morning made everyone unable to raise their spirits. When Qinyan went on stage, the entire arena became very lively and all sorts of shouts could be heard. Triple Radiance also went on stage. Qinyan did not speak to them. Instead, he used his mental energy to communicate with them. "Master, Zhou Zhonghui's martial spirit is very mysterious. However, we still found some clues. Originally, he was imprisoned in the dungeon of Blue Spirit Star Palace for many years, but now, he has been released many years in advance. It is precisely because his martial spirit is very special." The Yao used his mental energy to send a voice transmission to Qinyan. Only someone with an extremely strong mental energy cultivation could communicate in such a manner. If a voice transmission were to enter one's ears, there was a high chance that it would be intercepted by an expert. What's so special about his martial spirit? Qinyan was even more curious. "I don't know. However, I suspect that his martial spirit is most likely a totem martial spirit. In other words, it is an awakened martial spirit with totem runes inside. That's because I heard that Zhou Zhonghui used a very terrifying totem martial art in prison." Qin Yun was extremely shocked. A totem martial spirit was an existence akin to a martial spirit bestowed by the heavens. It could be said to be extremely rare. At this moment, he had a deeper understanding of Zhou Zhonghui's strength. It was not as simple as he had imagined. Master, there are also rumors that Zhou Zhonghui came to the arena for you. He wants to defeat you and destroy you, so that he can take possession of the Lord's wife. Qin Yun frowned as his expression suddenly turned gloomy. Xiao Yulan's martial spirit was also a martial spirit bestowed by the heavens. Furthermore, she possessed a 7-spirit vein. In Blue Spirit Star Palace, many genius disciples were envious of her. However, everyone knew that Xiao Yulan only had Qin Yun in her heart. Only when Qin Yun died would they be able to catch up to her. When the audience saw that Qin Yun and Triple Radiance did not speak on the battling platform, they believed that they had a deep grudge against each other. This made them even more excited. Triple Radiance is angry. Qin Yun is in danger. This time, Triple Radiance will definitely win. We must earn back what we lost yesterday. Everyone was overjoyed and looked forward to the start of the martial arts competition. After the preparation time was over, the old referee loudly announced the start of the match. Just like yesterday, the moment the match began, Triple Radiance spread out and surrounded Qin Yun. Then, they launched a fierce attack on Qin Yun. Of course, it only looked very fierce. In fact, it was all planned by them. This time's martial arts competition took up a lot more time than yesterday's. Furthermore, it looked extremely intense. When the time was almost up, Qin Yun used the Heavenly Lion's Roar and knocked Triple Radiance off the battling platform. Triple Radiance had lost to Qin Yun once again. The audience immediately started cursing because they had lost a lot of crystal coins. Qin Yun won the martial arts competition and obtained 3 million Xin points. In total, he had 10 million. He hurried to the arena's main hall and took out 500,000 crystal coins to challenge Zhou Zhonghui. If you challenge Zhou Zhonghui, you will need to wait 3 days. This is how the high-level arena is. Because high-level warriors are usually busy, they won't be able to arrive so quickly. The old man said, "All right, 3 days is 3 days." This time, Qin Yun did not say much to the old man. He left the arena and returned to the small building by the river. In the arena, the news of Qin Yun challenging Zhou Zhonghui quickly spread. Zhou Zhonghui was a senior agent whose name struck fear in people's hearts. His appearance caused the high-level warriors to form groups. That was because they had no chance of winning against Zhou Zhonghui alone. Even if it was a group, they would still be defeated if the number of people was too small. For example, Xuezai and company were defeated by Zhou Zhonghui. Qin Yun sat in the hall and waited for Lan Fengjin and Xuezai to return. An hour later, Lan Fengjin, who was in an extremely good mood, hummed a little tune as she entered the hall with Xuezai. The moment she entered, she saw Qin Yun's serious expression. "Damn brat, what's wrong with you? Your sister Lan, I have won 300 million crystal coins." Lan Fengjin smiled happily and said, "Don't worry and kill Zhou Zhonghui. When the time comes, I'll redeem you." Xuezai was looking forward to the match between Qin Yun and Zhou Zhonghui. She was not too worried about Qin Yun, because since Qin Yun could heal her martial spirit, he was definitely not afraid of Zhou Zhonghui's absolute soul palm. "Sister Lan, Dayo told me that Zhou Zhonghui most likely possesses a totem martial spirit." Qin Yun's tone was somewhat solemn. When Lan Fengjin heard that, she retracted the smile on her face and said, "I haven't returned to Blue Spirit Star Palace during this period of time, so I don't know anything. If that's really the case, then you better be careful. He possesses a totem martial spirit and has mastered a totem martial art. Even those at the 9th level martial body realm are no match for him. I will be careful. I'm just worried that if I kill him, it will cause great consequences. After all, he has a totem martial spirit." Qin Yun sighed and said, "It might even implicate you." Chapter 247. uncanny genius for War Qin, Yin also knew that Lan Fengjin had a very mysterious background in the Blue Spirit Saint Palace. However, he wasn't too sure. Now that she said it like that, it could be seen that she did indeed have a background. Then, Sister Lan, when the time comes, you must remember to fish me out. If you forget, I will be imprisoned for decades. Qin Yin felt a lot more at ease and said with a smile. Lan Fengjin smiled and was about to speak when someone knocked on the door. I'll open the door. As Shuezai spoke, she hurriedly walked over and opened the door. She saw a short and thin old man standing outside with a walking stick. Teacher Du, why are you here? Qin Yin hurriedly walked over and invited Du Gui into the hall. Lan Fengjin hurriedly said, Elder Du, hello. Your student will be fine with me. Don't worry. Du Gui smiled and said, I trust you, but I don't trust this guy. Qin Yin curled his lips and said, Teacher, did I get into trouble? Du Gui sat down and sighed. You challenged Zhou Zhonghui, didn't you? Lan Fengjin and Shuezai looked at each other. They never expected Du Gui to come for this. They felt that Qin Yin could completely defeat Zhou Zhonghui, so they did not understand why Du Gui was worried about this matter. Yes, why? Qin Yin was also somewhat puzzled as he said, I'm at the 8th level martial body realm. He's also at the 8th level martial body realm. Teacher, you should know my strength very well. There aren't many martial artists at the 8th level martial body who can defeat me. Du Gui shook his head and said, if Zhou Zhonghui was at the 8th level martial body realm, I wouldn't be worried about you at all. However, he is at the 9th level martial body realm. This was given to me by an old friend from the arena. However, Zhou Zhonghui hid it very well. It's very difficult for others to tell that he deliberately concealed his strength. Zhou Zhonghui was actually a martial artist at the 9th level martial body realm. Qin Yin, it's not too late for you to cancel the challenge now. Du Gui said, I came here to tell you this. Lan Fengjin asked, Elder Du, what if Qin Yin fights with all his might? Even if he can't defeat Zhou Zhonghui, he should be fine. Looks like you're already prepared to go to jail. Elder Du is also pondering. If Qin Yin did not have so many misgivings and went to compete, what would the result be? Shuezai and Lan Fengjin knew Qin Yin's personality very well. It was impossible for him to cancel the challenge now. They also felt that even if Qin Yin couldn't win, he wouldn't be beaten badly by his opponent. Du Gui looked at Qin Yin and said sternly, You can give it a try, but you must remember, don't let your martial soul get hurt again. The opponent's absolute soul palm is very scary. Now that you know that fellow is at the 9th level martial body realm, you should be prepared. And I will remember your words. Qin Yin nodded seriously and said, Teacher, is it appropriate to use spirit concentration kill to fight Zhou Zhonghui? Du Gui said earnestly, Everyone knows that you are my student and that your mental strength is very strong. Zhou Zhonghui is not a fool. He will definitely defend against you in this aspect. So, it's best if you don't have too much confidence in your mental strength attacks. It's not that mental force attacks aren't powerful, but it's very likely that Zhou Zhonghui is wearing a defensive spirit artifact that can defend against mental force attacks. You have to know that Zhou Zhonghui killed more than 10 disciples of our sect for no reason at all and was severely punished. But now that he has been released, there must be some unspeakable secret behind this. Lan Fengjin nodded. If time wasn't too tight, I would have made a trip back to Blue Spirit Star Palace to investigate this matter. I also feel that it's not that simple. The duel between Qin Yin and Zhou Zhonghui will take place on the 3rd day. With your speed, it's enough for you to go back and forth. You can rest assured that if you are not here and something happens to Qin Yin, there's still me. Du Gui said with a smile. Only you can figure out what's going on behind Zhou Zhonghui. Zhou Zhonghui will fight in 3 days. How can you be sure that it will be on the 3rd day? Lan Fengjin was worried that it would start tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. If she wasn't there, Qin Yin wouldn't be able to deal with other situations. Du Gui said with a smile, because I received news that some old fellows from Blue Spirit Star Palace will come. They are very concerned about the match between Qin Yin and Zhou Zhonghui. If they want to come, they will have to wait at least 2 or 3 days. Blue Spirit Star Palace was very concerned about this martial arts competition. This made Lan Fengjin and Xue Zai feel even more that Zhou Zhonghui was here for Qingyun. All right, I'll return to Blue Spirit Star Palace now. After Lan Fengjin finished speaking, she walked out of the building and hurriedly left the Star Xian Wu Academy. Qingyun, I'm leaving as well. Prepare yourself in the next 2 or 3 days. Du Gui patted Qingyun on the shoulder and walked out of the Heaven's Pride Academy. Shuezai said, Qingyun, could it be that Blue Spirit Star Palace deliberately sent Zhou Zhonghui to destroy you? You previously challenged Xiao Yanglong. Could it be that they are worried that you can defeat Xiao Yanglong, so they're targeting you now? I'm not sure either. Maybe we'll know when Sister Lan returns. I have to hurry up and practice. Zai, you have to take good care of your martial spirit as well. Don't let your martial spirit fall ill, Qingyun said. And I understand. Shuezai nodded. They returned to their respective rooms and began cultivating. Qingyun was mainly familiar with all kinds of powerful martial skills, such as the profound rank martial skill, tsunami technique, 6-style wind slayer, and 6-style forging dragon, as well as the flaming light fist and the chi explosion technique. If he used his strongest inner force to execute these martial skills, he would be able to unleash a very strong power in an instant. The flaming light fist and the fire cloud steps are both high-grade martial arts, and I have mastered them to the great perfection stage. However, I have never been able to cultivate these 2 martial skills to the perfection stage. Could it be that these 2 martial skills do not have the perfection stage? Qingyun was secretly puzzled. He had originally thought that the reason he was unable to reach the perfection stage was because his cultivation was insufficient. Now that he could use a little bit of internal supreme force, he felt that he should be able to reach the next level. Could it be that I have to use enough internal supreme force to execute a martial skill? Qingyun had tried before, but he could only mix his internal supreme force into the Vajra, inner strength. He had never tried using internal supreme force to execute a martial skill. If the 6-style Wind Slayer and the 6-style Forging Dragon could be executed with the Vajra inner strength, then they would be at the great perfection stage. As for the perfection stage, it should be able to smoothly use internal supreme force to execute them. Chi Explosion Technique, 6-style Wind Slayer, and 6-style Forging Dragon all require a certain level of cultivation in order to grasp a higher level. After careful consideration, Qingyun recalled the mental cultivation methods of many martial skills. Looks like I should have to use pure internal supreme force. However, my internal supreme force is limited. Once I use it, it will be gone. It will take a very long time for it to grow. In other words, I can only use it for a while. Qingyun looked at his hand and muttered, if I only use it for a moment, then the Chi Explosion Technique should be the most terrifying. The power of the Chi Explosion Technique is unimaginable. The Chi Explosion Technique was given to Qingyun by Xie Karu. It was also a martial skill that had been lost for a long time. Although it was only a Xian rank martial skill, it was very powerful, especially after mastering it to the great perfection stage. Qingyun rarely used the Chi Explosion Technique. It was mainly because the power of the Chi Explosion Technique was too great and it consumed a lot of energy. Sometimes, even he felt that he was unable to control the terrifying power of the Chi Explosion. And now, in order to make sufficient preparations, he planned to attempt to master the Chi Explosion Technique to the great perfection stage. After 2 days of bitter training, Qingyun had successfully used his scarce internal supreme force to activate the Chi Explosion Technique. This was the perfection stage. If it wasn't for my high perception, I wouldn't have been able to use pure internal supreme force to activate a martial skill. Qingyun had initially thought that it would be difficult, but he never expected that he would succeed after trying out on his own. Even for martial Dao realm cultivators, it would not be easy for them to master a martial skill to the great perfection stage, let alone the perfection stage. At most, They could only mix their internal supreme force into their inner strength or inner strength. Only then would they be able to become even more powerful when using martial skills. Many martial artists at the 9th level of the martial body realm were not like Qin Yun, who could use pure inner strength or Vajra inner strength to execute martial skills. The vast majority of people could only use their inner strength to execute martial skills and then carry a bit of inner strength within their inner strength. Many martial artists were unable to circulate the power of their martial skills naturally. If they forcefully used pure inner strength, they would injure their meridians. Therefore, martial arts comprehension was extremely important. This allowed a martial artist to better understand martial arts cultivation techniques and perfectly and naturally use their strength to execute martial arts cultivation techniques. This was also the reason why Qin Yun was so powerful. When he used a martial skill, he could use pure inner strength to execute it. This was something that far surpassed many people. And now, Qin Yun was able to use pure internal supreme force. This meant that his power would be even more terrifying. Unfortunately, he had just condensed a Vajra inner core, so his internal supreme force was limited. The realm of perfection in martial arts is roughly the same. Perhaps it's just that the inner force cultivation method is different. Qin Yun secretly gave a try. He felt that if he used his internal supreme force to execute martial skills like the 6-style Wind Slayer, it would be possible. However, there was too little internal supreme force. It was gone in an instant, and he couldn't even use a single move. As for the Qi explosion technique, it was very special. It was to condense energy and then detonate it, producing a very strong impact and obtaining a great deal of power from it. In order to ensure that nothing went wrong, Qin Yun repeatedly practiced and gathered his internal supreme force in the Heavenly Lion's arm until he could do as he pleased and reach the point of instantly gathering Qi. The Heavenly Lion's arm had been tempered by the Heavenly Lion's blood and was extremely tough. It could withstand the impact of the internal supreme force and would not affect the body. If Qin Yun did not have the Heavenly Lion's arm, he would not dare to use his internal supreme force to explode. That would only destroy his arm. 3 days passed. This morning was the day of Qin Yun and Zhou Zhonghui's duel. The entrance ticket to the arena was sold at an absurdly high price. It actually cost 20,000 crystal coins each. Today, the arena had earned an insane amount of money. Shuezai was not in the small building. She had gone to buy admission tickets early in the morning. She wanted to buy 2 tickets and give one to Lan Fengjin. After Qin Yun got up, he washed up very calmly and put on a set of brown bee skin clothes. This was a set of light pattern equipment. Chapter 248. Zhou Zhonghui. The reason why Lan Fengjin hurriedly returned to Blue Spirit Star Palace was to investigate the reason why Zhou Zhonghui had been released. From the information that Qin Yun and company had, Zhou Zhonghui was here for him. However, behind Zhou Zhonghui, there was clearly an invisible black curtain. Blue Spirit Star Palace is truly a place that hides all sorts of mysteries. The more Qin Yun thought about it, the more he found it strange. Especially the Eastern Palace's inscription gate. It was extremely mysterious. The inscription gate was undoubtedly the foundation of Blue Spirit Star Palace. For many years, no one had been able to pass the inscription gate's examination. There must be some secret behind it. The founder of Blue Spirit Star Palace, Marshal King Lan Shao, is definitely related to the immortal graveyard. Perhaps the secret is hidden within the inscription gate. As Qin Yun walked, he did not think about today's martial arts competition. Instead, he thought about many things that he wanted to know. For example, the Star Xianwu Academy that he was in also had all sorts of secrets. He vaguely felt that these secrets were very likely to be related. In the arena, there was a hubbub of voices and it was extremely lively. Even many teachers and martial Dao realm instructors from the Heaven's Pride Academy came to join in the fun. As for Qin Yun and Zhou Zhonghui's duel, it was at noon. It was only morning now, so he still had to wait for 4 to 6 hours. When Qin Yun entered the arena, he sensed many powerful auras. There were quite a few people from Blue Spirit Star Palace. Just as Du Gui had said, many experts from Blue Spirit Star Palace had come. On the passageway to the battling platform, Qin Yun saw Lan Fengjin. "Sister Lan, you're finally back," Qin Yun said with a smile. He immediately felt a lot more at ease. "What? Do you think something happened to me in Blue Spirit Star Palace?" Lan Fengjin smiled as her face suddenly turned serious. She said, "Qin Yun, when I went back this time, I heard something incredible. Is it related to that Zhou Zhonghui?" Qin Yun asked before looking around. There were many people here, so it was not convenient to speak. Lan Fengjin nodded and brought Qin Yun back to the hall of the arena to borrow a room. Inside the room, Lan Fengjin's expression became even more solemn. She was not too worried about Qin Yun's match with Zhou Zhonghui because even if Qin Yun could not beat him, he could still escape. But now she didn't think so. "Qin Yun, Zhou Zhonghui's martial spirit is indeed a totem martial spirit. This was gradually awakened after he was locked up in the dungeon. I don't know how this guy mastered the totem martial arts." Lan Fengjin frowned. Her eyes were full of worry as she said, "Why don't you cancel the challenge?" Qin Yun said with a smile, "Sister Lan, I also have totem martial arts. My totem martial arts might not necessarily be inferior to his." He was calling for him and Zhou Zhonghui to go up on stage. Qin Yun walked out of the room and entered the passageway that led to the arena. After walking out, he saw that the vast majority of the audience in front of the arena were luxuriously dressed people with powerful auras. After he walked onto the battling platform, he looked at the front row of the audience. There were many familiar faces, and most of them were from Blue Spirit Star Palace. Even Xiao Long had come. Teacher Yang is here, but Yuelan is not. Qin Yun felt somewhat helpless. If Xiao Yuelan came, he could use Xiao Yuelan's immortal graveyard diagram to see if he could contact Xie Karu. When Zhuo Chuan learned of this matter, he immediately rushed over. Only he and Lan Fengjin knew that Qin Yun was a high-ranked inscription master. He was extremely precious, and he did not want to see Qin Yun destroyed. Zhou Zhonghui had appeared. The Blue Spirit Star Palace disciples in the audience immediately let out a series of shouts, boosting Zhou Zhonghui's momentum. Zhou Zhonghui was a relatively short man. His skin was terrifyingly white, and his face was very thin and cold. His eyes were filled with a fierce light, and his killing intent was overbearing, giving people an uncomfortable feeling of oppression. Although he was wearing a luxurious blue skin-tight suit, he gave off the vibe of a ferocious beast in human skin. Even Qin Yun, who had experienced great storms, could not help but feel a chill in his heart when he saw this person. A trace of fear surged in his heart, especially when he was stared at by the other party's pair of vicious and cold eyes. He felt his heart palpitate with fear. It was as if he was about to be eaten alive at any moment. This kind of guy is too dangerous. He doesn't have any humanity at all. Qin Yun suddenly understood why Lan Fengjin had asked him to withdraw from the battle. It was because Zhou Zhonghui was indeed terrifying. Suddenly, Qin Yun recalled what the old man from Blue Spirit Star Palace had said. If a person had a totem but did not have a totem soul, then in the future, there was a high chance that he would be devoured by the totem and become a madman. He suspected that the Zhou Zhonghui in front of him had once been controlled by a soulless totem. Now that he had awakened his soul, he was a little more normal. However, that brutal bestial nature was only restrained and could erupt at any time. Blue Spirit Star Palace took a fancy to my totem and then released such a brutal fellow to snatch it? What a bunch of crazy things. Qin Yun was infuriated as he looked into Zhou Zhonghui's eyes. He felt that the Zhou Zhonghui in front of him was extremely dangerous. He possessed the evil of a human and the brutality of a magical beast. That brutality was controlled by evil and would be even more terrifying. Qin Yun, after our martial arts competition, the fame and glory you obtain will all belong to me. Also, Xiao Yuelan will also be mine. The corner of Zhou Zhonghui's mouth curled into a sinister sneer. His eyes suddenly revealed an incomparably brutal and fierce light. It was extremely frightening. My honor, And reputation? I've never cared about these things, but you actually care so much. I've overestimated you before. All right, my strongest aspect is the Tao of inscriptions. You will never be able to step into this threshold. Qin Yun said with a smile. The other party wanted to infuriate him, and he was also infuriating the other party. Zhou Zhonghui's face had always been filled with ferocity. It was hard to tell if he was infuriated or not. He suddenly took out a thumb from his storage spirit artifact. When he saw the bloody finger, the corner of Qin Yun's eyebrows twitched. He felt that it was somewhat familiar. It was Huizhong's. An incomparable rage, like a volcano eruption, suddenly surged into his heart. This is Huizhong's, that big idiot. I really don't understand how someone like him managed to enter the Beast Martial Palace. He is truly a disgrace to the name of the Beast Martial Palace. Zhou Zhonghui's face was filled with a vicious smile. On the other hand, that girl surnamed Shui is not bad. However, her martial spirit was severely injured by me. Her life can be considered ruined. Ha ha ha. Zhou Zhonghui looked at Qin Yun's darkened expression and said with a smug smile, That's right. I came to this arena for you. Therefore, you harmed your friend, caused your friend to be seriously injured, and caused that beautiful woman's martial spirit to be destroyed. He laughed sinisterly and crushed Huizhong's finger. Don't worry, after I defeat you, I will take good care of Xiao Yuelon. I will ruthlessly ravage this arrogant little slut. How dare she look down on me? Qin Yun, you will die a miserable death today. It's a pity that bitch Xiao Yuelon didn't come. She can't see your miserable state. Ha. Qin Yun clenched his fists tightly and turned ashen. He gritted his teeth as the muscles on his face trembled. The Zhou Zhonghui in front of him was a true devil. The elder of the Blue Spirit Nangong Palace had a face full of smiles as he stroked his beard and said, This child, a Hui, has a fiery temper, but he is the strongest martial body realm in our Nangong Palace. An old man beside him said with a smile, If he can defeat Qin Yun, then it's very likely that he will step into the martial Tao realm. Such a young martial Tao realm cultivator is rare even in the Blue Spirit Star Palace. Ha, that's right. We are not as stupid as the Eastern Palace. We have all sent outstanding seedlings to the Saint Palace. Look at the Eastern Palace. They are the weakest, the elder said with a smile. Qin Yun is going to be unlucky today. Even our Nangong's palace master thinks highly of a Hui and has personally guided him for 2 months. Chapter 249. Extreme Internal Supreme Force. Chapter 249. Qin Yun was furious. Everyone could tell. At that moment, someone suddenly shouted, Look at Zhou Zhonghui's body. It's overflowing with a pale white mist. That's Internal Supreme Force. Only someone at the 9th level martial body realm can release Internal Supreme Force like this. Zhou Zhonghui is actually at the 9th level martial body realm. Qin Yun is definitely going to lose. Qin Yun can't use spirit talismans or spirit artifacts. It's impossible for him to defeat Zhou Zhonghui. The difference in strength is too great. What's going on with Zhou Zhonghui? To think that he would suddenly be at the 9th level martial body realm. Qin Yun should be feeling extremely regretful right now. He can still escape now. Qin Yun had long known that Zhou Zhonghui was at the 9th level martial body realm. Du Gui had advised him at that time. He wanted him to give up on this duel. Now, when he saw Zhou Zhonghui release his internal supreme force, he was extremely shocked. This was because Zhou Zhonghui's level of internal supreme force was something that could only be obtained after stepping into the 9th level martial body realm for a period of time. Zhou Zhonghui had long since stepped into the 9th level martial body realm. He might soon step into the martial Tao realm. Could it be that he wants to borrow my totem to help him step into the martial Tao realm? Qin Yun clenched his fists tightly as he gritted his teeth. I must destroy this crazy magical beast and avenge old Hua. Let the match begin. The old referee shouted when he saw that the hourglass had finished leaking. Zhou Zhonghui began to release his terrifying internal energy from the very beginning. After the match began, he let out a loud roar. That roar was as terrifying as the heavenly lion's heavenly roar. However, Zhou Zhonghui's voice was like the roar of a tiger. Qin Yun was forced back more than 10 meters by the sound wave. Zhou Zhonghui also flew over along with the sound wave, causing the bronze battling platform to rumble. In the blink of an eye, Zhou Zhonghui appeared in front of Qin Yun. With a palm strike, it was actually a tiger's palm. However, the claws were eagle claws. They were extremely sharp. Qin Yun dodged in shock. Only now did he realize that Zhou Zhonghui had become half human and half beast. His arms had become furry, bursting through his sleeves. Tiger stripes and golden fur had appeared on his face. It could be seen that his martial spirit was the tiger martial spirit. As for Qin Yun, he discovered that Zhou Zhonghui's martial spirit was not only a tiger. There were also other beast types, but they were not that obvious. It's not just the tiger martial spirit. There are others as well. I need to be careful. As Qin Yun thought to himself, Zhou Zhonghui attacked again. The Vajra inner strength he released was mixed with internal supreme force. With a swipe of its claw, a violent gale was stirred up. Qin Yun struck back at the claw with his palm. Using the Vajra inner strength, he unleashed the tsunami technique. The inner strength transformed into a few shock waves that shook the tiger claw away from a distance. 9 shock waves, his tsunami technique has reached the peak of large success. Yang Shi, you said in pleasant surprise. Tsunami technique was a Xian-level martial art. It was also rather famous. When Qin Yun used it, he instantly released 9 shock waves to force Zhou Zhonghui back. When Qin Yun used the tsunami technique, he also used the spirit concentration kill to attack Zhou Zhonghui's mind. However, it was useless. The mental energy he shot out was bounced off by a strange force. Zhou Zhonghui attacked several times, but to no avail. He was extremely furious and roared ferociously. Like an enraged beast, he charged at Qin Yun. This time, Zhou Zhonghui did not use his claws to attack. Instead, as he charged over, he spat out a bolt of lightning. With a magnetic sound, it struck Qin Yun's head. Qin Yun was sent flying backwards as his hair was in a mess. He never expected that Zhou Zhonghui would spit out such a terrifying bolt of lightning from his mouth. Just as he landed on the ground, Zhou Zhonghui suddenly fell from a height of dozens of meters and stomped down. Boom! At the moment of danger, Qin Yun rolled to the side to avoid the stomp. Otherwise, he would be seriously injured. Zhou Zhonghui roared as he opened his mouth and shot out bolts of lightning at Qin Yun. Qin Yun quickly dodged and jumped back and forth. When Zhou Zhonghui saw that he was unable to hit Qin Yun, he was infuriated and charged forward. Qin Yun's heavenly lion arm suddenly trembled. A purplish gold light burst forth and transformed into a lion claw. The heavenly lion fighting dragon claw had appeared. Using the heavenly lion's fighting dragon claw as a weapon, he faced the charging Zhou Zhonghui and displayed the 6-style Wind Slasher. Wind Slasher, Wave Breaker, Mountain Splitter, Earth Splitter, River Breaker, and Thunderclap. 6 moves were used consecutively. The celestial lion's fighting dragon claw danced as fast as lightning, creating waves of air. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, accompanied by a whistling sound, enveloping Zhou Zhonghui. Zhou Zhonghui's body was covered in wounds and cracks. After everyone saw it, they could not help but be shocked. Qin Yun had injured Zhou Zhonghui, so he had to go to jail. Qin Yun, you actually dared to injure a Hui so heavily. Nangong Elder furiously shouted. Can't you see that a Hui is in great pain? Shut up. If I don't hurt him, am I supposed to let him hurt me? If you don't want to be injured, then don't compete. Tell him to scram back to drinking milk. Qin Yun roared at the elder. Everyone immediately burst into laughter. Injuries were a common thing when competing in the martial arts arena, but that elder actually didn't allow others to hurt others. What was the point of competing? The elder from Nangong was so angry that his face turned red. He shouted at Zhou Zhonghui, Zhou Zhonghui, get rid of him no matter what. As long as he dies, Xiao Yuelon will be yours. Don't you want her very much? Ha ha, I really want her. I want to slowly torture her to death. Zhonghui laughed sinisterly as the inner force on his body suddenly surged out. When Zhonghui used a martial skill, his inner strength contained a large amount of inner force, causing the power of his martial skill to become even more terrifying. In just half an instant, Zhonghui, who was covered in wounds, suddenly appeared above Qin Yun. Then, he struck down with his palm, heavily striking Qin Yun's heavenly lion arm. This palm strike was extremely terrifying. The whistling sound of the palm wind was like the wails of ghosts and the howls of wolves. It enveloped the entire arena, causing everyone to feel a chill run down their spines. Absolute soul palm. It hit Qin Yun. Is Qin Yun finished? Qin Yun's left shoulder was struck by a palm strike as he fell to the ground. He was pressed down by Zhonghui, who was covered in blood. Shuizai's face immediately turned pale as a look of fear appeared on her face. Yang Shiyu and Lan Fengjin's expressions changed drastically. Qin Yun, how are you? Yang Shiyu shouted from the spectator's stands. Quickly get rid of him and get off the battling platform. Du Gui was also in the front row as he shouted. At this moment, Zhonghui's entire body was covered in blood, and he looked extremely ferocious. He roared and roared as he brandished his tiger claws and slashed at Qin Yun's body. In an instant, the entire arena was enveloped by the howling of palm winds that sounded like the wails of evil spirits. Everyone in the arena seemed to have arrived at a place where evil spirits were imprisoned in the netherworld. It was extremely terrifying. The consecutive absolute soul palms struck Qin Yun's body in a frenzy. Every palm strike caused one's heart to tremble. Everyone knew that as long as they were hit by a palm, their martial spirit would definitely be severely injured. As for Qin Yun, he had been struck so many times. The outcome of his martial spirit could be imagined. Even if Qin Yun isn't dead, just based on the fact that he injured a Hui so severely, he will still go to jail? The Nangong elder laughed loudly and said, A Hui, after taking away his totem tattoo, leave him with his dog life. He's done for anyway. When everyone heard the elder's voice, they were extremely shocked. Zhonghui actually wanted to take away Qin Yun's heavenly lion totem tattoo. Zhonghui's large foot stepped on Qin Yun's back. He tore open the clothes on his upper body and his abdomen, which was covered in beast fur, suddenly emitted a purplish gold glow. Roar! After the glow appeared, it converged into a purplish gold giant tiger. This giant tiger looked extremely strange. It actually had the shadow of a dragon, and its body was covered in all sorts of spirit marks. It's the dragon tiger martial spirit. Someone shouted in shock. Lan Fengjin suddenly appeared beside the battling platform. She wanted to enter, but she was blocked by the barrier. Qin Yun's heavenly lion arm suddenly flickered with light. The heavenly lion totem on his arm actually began to squirm. Your heavenly lion totem tattoo is mine. You are not worthy of possessing the heavenly lion totem tattoo. Only I can make it shine brightly. Zhonghui was overjoyed to the extreme as he laughed crazily. Did you see that? It's his heavenly lion totem tattoo that wants to come over. Qin Yun is a weakling to begin with. His totem tattoo will only follow the strong. Qin Yun, quickly pull yourself together. Yang Shiyu also came to the side of the battling platform. She was extremely anxious as she shouted, Your totem is your only strength. His martial spirit has been destroyed by me. He can't move at all. Zhonghui laughed loudly. Everyone was astonished as they looked at Qin Yun, who was lying on the ground. Is Qin Yun really finished? Suddenly, Qin Yun's heavenly lion arm moved. Zhonghui also suddenly looked at Qin Yun. As he stepped on Qin Yun's back, he sensed a terrifying power being emitted. It was internal supreme force, a very powerful internal supreme force. Qin Yun's nether sun inner core began to spin crazily. The condensed internal supreme force suddenly surged into his heavenly lion arm. Zhonghui, who was laughing maniacally, turned pale with fright. He was blasted away by the burst of internal supreme force that Qin Yun had unleashed. Qin Yun leaped up from the ground as the heavenly lion's arm thunder and fire surged. With an earth-shattering roar, he charged at Zhou Zhonghui. The internal supreme force that was condensed in his arm suddenly exploded. The Qi explosion technique that had reached the acme of perfection was displayed perfectly. Qin Yun punched out, creating a large wave of purplish-gold flames that enveloped Zhou Zhonghui and the dragon tiger, totem martial spirit, he had released. Boom! Zhou Zhonghui's chest was struck by a heavy punch, creating a large hole. He flew out of the battling platform and crashed into a stone wall in the spectator stands. His entire body sank into it. At the same time, Qin Yun quickly stored the dragon tiger, totem martial spirit, into the nether sun inner core. Then, he used the nether sun inner force to suppress the violent dragon tiger martial spirit. Because of the purplish gold fire wave, no one noticed it. All the martial Dao realm experts present were moved. They were unable to calm down as they looked at the flying Zhou Zhonghui. Qin Yun had actually turned defeat into victory. Furthermore, the punch he had thrown out was too terrifying. It was as if he had used pure internal supreme force. One had to know that even in a martial Dao realm, one could not easily use pure internal supreme force to execute a martial skill. However, Qin Yun had done it. This was simply impossible. It had already exceeded common sense. Yang Shiryu, who was about to shout, suddenly stopped. She looked at Zhou Zhonghui, who had been smashed into the stone wall. She was so shocked that she couldn't even say a word. Du Gui, who had just walked down the stairs, was also dumbfounded. He had thought that Qin Yun was finished. He never expected him to suddenly counterattack. Furthermore, the power was so terrifying. The elder of Nangong rushed over in disbelief and pulled the dead Zhou Zhonghui out of the wall. He cried out miserably, "Zhou Zhonghui, Zhou Zhonghui." The elder's angry shouts echoed throughout the quiet arena. Chapter 250. Dragon Tiger, Totem in the Arena. There were quite a few people from Blue Spirit Star Palace. They were very familiar with the Qi explosion technique, so they could quickly tell that Qin Yun had used the Qi explosion technique. Very quickly, the news of Qin Yun using the Qi explosion technique spread throughout the arena, dispelling everyone's doubts. Yang Shiryu heaved a sigh of relief and smiled at Qin Yun before returning to her seat in the audience stands. Lan Fengjin could handle the rest of the matters. Qin Yun had used the Qi explosion technique to perfection. This was the most shocking thing. Everyone knew that if one mastered a martial skill to the extreme, it was extremely likely that they would be able to unleash a power that surpassed their own cultivation. For example, when Qin Yun was still unable to use inner strength, he was able to unleash inner strength because he had a good grasp of the six-style forging dragon. However, it was extremely harmful to his body. Now, Qin Yun had the arm of the heavenly lion, so he could withstand a very strong force. After appraisal, Zhou Zhonghui is dead. As a disciple of the Star Xian Wu Academy, Qin Yun has violated the rules of the arena and will be imprisoned for 50 years. An old man from the arena walked over from Zhou Zhonghui's side. The elder from Nangong Palace was infuriated as he said to Qin Yun, 50 years is enough? We must kill him. You old bastard. If you hadn't encouraged Zhou Zhonghui to devour my totem, I wouldn't have killed him. Is it wrong for me to retaliate when he devoured my totem? Go *CK yourself. Qin Yun cursed at the old man. The elder became even angrier. Just as he was about to flare up, he heard Lan Fengjin say, Qin Yun is my student. If he is imprisoned, I, as a teacher, might not be able to obtain the reward of the Heaven's Pride Academy. Therefore, I am willing to use 500 million crystal coins to redeem him. You. The elder from Nangong Palace never expected that Lan Fengjin would help Qin Yun in such a manner. However, he could only look at Lan Fengjin, speechless. Although you used 500 million crystal coins to redeem him, Qin Yun still killed someone. Therefore, He needs to be locked up for at least 10 months. The person in charge of the arena said seriously. This is mainly to warn him not to commit any more crimes. 10 months it is. Qin Yun spread his hands with an indifferent expression. The group of elders from the Blue Spirit Nangong Palace felt their hearts ache to death. They had lost a disciple with a totem tattoo and lost a good opportunity to study totem tattoo. And this was all thanks to Qin Yun's defeat. Many people began to gloat. The Blue Spirit Nangong had originally wanted Zhou Zhonghui to seize Qin Yun's totem. However, not only had he failed to steal a chicken, he had even lost a life. Such a huge loss was enough for the Blue Spirit Nangong to feel heartache for many years. The people of Blue Spirit Nangong could only watch with resentment as Qin Yun was escorted away by a few burly men. Their Blue Spirit Star Palace could control the Ling Xianwu Academy and the Tian Xian Martial School, but they could not control the Star Xianwu Academy. The main reason was that the strength of the Star Xianwu Academy was unfathomable. The Blue Spirit Star Palace alone was not a match for the Star Xianwu Academy. The dungeon where Qin Yun was imprisoned was beneath the arena. He was locked in a separate stone room. It was more than 10 meters long and wide. This was enough for him to set up the 9-Yang Spirit Convergence Array. The door to the stone room could only be opened from the outside. There are all sorts of formations blocking it. Even a martial Dao realm cultivator would not be able to escape from here. Outside the stone door, there were also martial artists at the 9th level martial body realm. They walked around and patrolled day and night. Qin Yun spread out the beast skin of the 9-Yang Spirit Convergence Array. He and Lan Fengjin had refined it together and hadn't used it many times. Now, he could finally use it well. Ka. The stone door was suddenly pushed open. Lan Fengjin and Shuezai walked in. Lan Fengjin wore a tight blue robe, not concealing her voluptuous figure at all. A long braid hung down from her chest to her waist. Shuezai, on the other hand, wore a relatively quiet and noble purple dress. She had a head of refreshing short hair, and although she did not have a smile on her face, her eyes were extremely gentle. Do you have to give the arena a certain amount of crystal coins for coming to see me? Qin Yun hurriedly stood up and walked over as he asked with a smile. Isn't that so? Each of us has to pay 500,000 crystal coins. Lan Fengjin looked at her surroundings and revealed a playful smile. How is the environment here? Do you want someone to accompany you? You want to stay with me? That's great, Qin Yun said with a smile. Dream on, Lan Fengjin said with a smile. Cultivate well here. In 10 months, we will need you to turn the tables. At the end of the year, the Heaven's Pride Academy would conduct an examination. If one performed well, the instructors and students would receive generous rewards. With Qin Yun's current strength, he was considered very strong in the Heaven's Pride Academy. With him around, Lan Fengjin was not afraid of not being able to get a ranking at the end of the year. You guys have no conscience. Can't you stay here with me? I'm very lonely, Qin Yun said with a dejected expression. Do you want to stay here and take advantage of me? Lan Fengjin took out a large box and said with a smile, This is the dessert I made. You can slowly taste it. Shuezai also took out a box of desserts and handed it to Qin Yun. She forced out a smile and said, Qin Yun, we will meet again in 10 months. At that time, I will also become very strong. Zai, thank you. Qin Yun received it and hurriedly thanked her. Damn brat, you didn't even thank me. I made these desserts very seriously. Lan Fengjin snorted unhappily. Thank you, Sister Lan, Qin Yun said with a smile. Oh right, if you have time, help me take care of Qin Malian. She is my good sister. I'm worried that she will be bullied because of me. I'll have to trouble you. No problem, let's go. Lan Fengjin waved at Qin Yun before walking out of the stone door with Shuezai. All right, if Murong and Old will come back, don't let them see me and waste crystal coins. Qin Yun shouted. The stone door had already closed. Qin Yun held 2 large boxes and happily walked to the center of the 9-Yang Spirit Convergence Array. He opened the blue box and picked up a dessert to eat. He could not help but exclaim, Sister Lan, this boorish woman can actually make good desserts. Not bad, not bad. He ate 2 of Lan Fingjian's and 2 of Shue's eyes. Each had its own specialties. It's better to keep it. After all, I'm going to be locked up for 10 months. I have to eat sparingly. Qingyun put away the 2 boxes and closed his eyes. He focused his mind on the Nether Sun inner core to investigate the Dragon Tiger Totem Martial Spirit. This martial spirit is very special. It can't be handled like other martial spirits. How should I use it? He seriously tried to sense it. Not long after, he was surprised to discover that this martial spirit actually contained pure internal supreme force. This sudden discovery made Qingyun wild with joy. Then, he controlled the Nether Sun inner core to spin and dissolve the Dragon Tiger Totem Martial Spirit. Not long after, the martial spirit was ground out with a bit of pure internal supreme force. He was currently lacking internal supreme force. He still had 2 inner chi waiting to transform into a Vajra inner core. The internal supreme force produced by this totem martial spirit might be able to transform the vibration inner chi into a Vajra inner core. Qingyun was secretly delighted as he hurriedly channeled the wisp of internal supreme force into the vibration inner chi in his heart. The vibration inner chi and the Nether Sun inner core both had strong self-defense abilities. Zhou Zhonghui's absolute soul palm was useless against Qingyun. It was precisely because of the Nether Sun martial spirit and the vibration martial spirit that the protective inner strength erupted to resist the power of the absolute soul palm. Because he had the internal supreme force of the Dragon Tiger Totem martial spirit, Qingyun was extremely excited. Every day, he would refine this martial spirit and absorb the internal supreme force within it into his heart for the vibration inner chi to absorb. During the absorption process, the vibration inner chi also appeared to be very active and the absorption speed was very fast. Qingyun felt that the Dragon Tiger Totem martial spirit was like an energy consolidating spirit pill. It could allow him to turn an inner yuan into an inner core. The only difference was that it would take a very long time to completely digest the totem soul. It was not like the energy consolidating spirit pill, which could be done in a few days. 2 months had passed. Qingyun sat on the 9-yang spirit convergence array as his heart thumped wildly. A faint layer of golden light condensed on the skin at the location of his heart. For the past few days, he had been sitting in the middle of the 9-yang spirit convergence array, motionless as he seriously refined the totem martial spirit. His hair was very long, and he had some beard, but he did not feel it himself. Qingyun, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly lay on his back on the ground. His chest overflowed with a shockwave. The shockwave passed through his body and reached the ground, causing the ground to tremble slightly. The entire arena began to tremble slightly. The perception of the martial artists was very strong, and they quickly discovered it. The martial Dao realm experts in the arena also found it strange because they did not know how this had happened. The vibrating power emitted by Qingyun's body was also very strange. There was no aura as it constantly produced vibrations from afar, causing the earth to tremble slightly. So, the vibration martial spirit has to be used in conjunction with the internal supreme force in order to have a significant effect. Qingyun, who was lying on the bee's skin, opened his eyes. The shockwave had also stopped. His crazily beating heart had also slowed down. Vibration inner yuan has successfully transformed into a Vajra inner core. I have another inner core. He sat up excitedly and pressed his hand on the ground. Then, he activated his internal supreme force and released a wave of vibration power through his vibration martial spirit. The power of vibration penetrated the thick stone slabs and entered the depths of the earth before exploding in the depths. Just a moment ago, the arena had only trembled slightly, but now it was shaking. If it was the previous tremor, it would only cause ripples in the water basin. But now, the water in the basin was splashing out. The dungeon that Qingyun was in shook the most violently. Enough, if this continues, we will be discovered. Qingyun chuckled as he retracted the power of vibration. Now, He had finally witnessed the terror of this legendary martial spirit. The people in the arena were all very puzzled as to why the island had trembled just now. This was because there had never been such a commotion on this island. If it was caused by a martial art competition, then the commotion would definitely be huge. However, in the arena, there was no big commotion at all. Qin Yun, who had created the earthquake, was lying on the soft nine-yang spirit convergence array. He looked at his heart because he felt that his heart was somewhat different. He didn't know if he didn't look, but when he did, he was shocked. That was because on the surface of his heart, a dragon and tiger totem had appeared. Originally, he had felt that it was a pity to refine the dragon-tiger totem because a totem tattoo had disappeared just like that. Chapter 251. Three inner cores. Qin Yun was so shocked that he suddenly sat up. Once again, he looked at it seriously and carefully. Indeed, he saw the dragon-tiger totem tattoo. It was extremely clear on the surface of his heart. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? The location where the totem appeared was too strange. It was actually on the heart. Of course, Qin Yun's heart was no ordinary heart. It had been tempered by the black-yellow heart sutra. It was the heart of black-yellow and was extremely sturdy. Otherwise, it would not have been able to contain the vibration martial spirit. If I want to comprehend a totem martial art, I need an opportunity. I can't force it. Qin Yun looked at the dragon-tiger totem. Although he wanted to give it a try to see if he could comprehend a martial art, he thought of the heavenly lion totem on his left arm and felt that he should first transform the thunder and fire inner yuan into a Vajra inner core. This was the root of the heavenly lion's arm. Right now, Qin Yun used his primordial spirit to guide it every day. Then, with the help of the nine-yang spirit convergence array, he absorbed a large amount of nine-yang energy into his body to constantly produce internal supreme force. As long as he could continuously absorb the nine-yang energy into his body, his Vajra bone marrow would continuously produce internal supreme force for him to use to temper his thunder and fire inner yuan. The vibration inner core and the nether sun inner core can store inner supreme force. However, because the two inner cores have just been formed, they're still relatively weak. They can't store much inner supreme force. Qin Yun looked at the two inner cores that were filled with inner supreme force and felt a sense of accomplishment. The internal supreme force was located in the center of the inner core. It was intertwined with the martial spirit and became the core of the inner core. The rest were all liquid Vajra inner strength. At this moment, Qin Yun also understood why the dragon-tiger totem martial spirit he had obtained had so much internal supreme force. Zhou Zhonghui's Vajra inner core had long been formed. It was the more mature type, so it could store a lot of internal supreme force. Every time he cultivated for a period of time, he would press his hand on the ground and use his internal supreme force to activate his vibration martial spirit. He would release his vibration inner force and pour it into the ground, causing the arena to shake. This was purely for fun. He was very bored being locked up here. In the blink of an eye, Qin Yun had been locked up in the stone room for 7 months. Today, when he was bored, he poured his vibration power into the ground, causing the arena to shake. Suddenly, someone pushed open the door, startling him and causing him to hurriedly retract the vibration force. The person who came in was a tall and slender woman. Her face was covered with a veil, and she wore a black, tight-fitting night outfit. Her hair was tied up in a ponytail, and her originally cold and murderous eyes suddenly became gentle. After the stone door was closed, the woman took off her veil and revealed her beautiful face. She had a smile on her face as she said, "So it was you who did all of this, little hubby. You're really bored. Yulan, why are you wasting crystal coins? I'll be able to leave soon." Qin Yun chuckled. Although he said that, he was extremely happy in his heart. "I am your wife. Of course I have to come and see my little husband." Xiao Yuelon chuckled and said, "You don't know, but these past few days, this arena has been renovated many times and was almost moved." Xiao Yuelon knew that Qin Yun had the vibration martial spirit and the strange earthquake in the arena happened after Qin Yun was locked up in the dungeon. Qin Yun said with a smile, "They took 500 million crystal coins from Sister Lan and still want to lock me up for so long. They deserve it." "Well done." Xiao Yuelon pinched Qin Yun's cheek and said with a smile, "As expected of my Xiao Yuelon's man. The things you do suit my taste. I wanted to get rid of that disgusting bug, Zhou Zhonghui, for a long time, but I couldn't find the chance. This guy doesn't dare to face me, but he's plotting against you. He's really courting death." Qin Yun took out a chair and let Xiao Yuelon sit down. He said with a smile, "Yulan, 7 months have passed outside. What happened? I'm bored out of my mind being locked up here." After Xiao Yuelon sat down, she crossed her legs and said, "It's just some trivial matters. There's nothing much to say. Maybe the Genius Academy created by the Blue Spirit Star Palace is more worth paying attention to." "Genius Academy?" Qin Yun said with a frown. "What's the difference between this and the Heaven's Pride Academy?" Xiao Yuelon said, "The Genius Academy is hosted by Xiao Yonglong. He took half of the people from the Heaven's Pride Academy, and they are in the Blue Spirit Star Palace. Right now, there are still half of the people in the Heaven's Pride Academy, which is 25 instructors. Each instructor has 4 students. I heard that in 3 or 4 months, the Genius Academy will have a competition with the Heaven's Pride Academy. If we win the academy, every student will receive 100 million Xin points. Without any suspense, our Heaven's Pride Academy will definitely win." Qin Yun said confidently, 100 million Xin points is truly a huge sum. "Not necessarily. The Genius Academy is in the Blue Spirit West Palace. When the time comes, they will definitely send in some disciples at the 9th level martial body realm." Xiao Yuelon gave up half of the chair and pulled Qin Yun to sit down. She asked, "Have you stepped into the 9th level martial body realm? I could be considered to be at the 9th level martial body realm. Let's put it this way. I originally had 3 elemental energies, but now 2 of them have turned into Vajra inner cores." Qin Yun chuckled as he boldly carried Xiao Yuelon and let her sit on his lap. Xiao Yuelon sat on Qin Yun's thigh and leaned into his embrace. She said with some surprise, "You actually have 3 martial spirits? One of you is the vibration martial spirit, the other is the thunder fire martial spirit. What's the other one?" "It's a secret," Qin Yun said with a smile. "I only know that you have a mental martial spirit and a dragon martial spirit. We're even." Stinking brat." Xiao Yuelon lightly hammered his chest. "You should be 16 or 17 years old. You still look like a young boy." Xiao Yuelon was older than Qin Yun. She was 18 years old and was already a slender and elegant beauty. She was 1 year older than Qin Yun, so in her eyes, Qin Yun was a youth. "Yuelon, you are my wife. We husband and wife should do something husband and wife should do." Qin Yun held Xiao Yuelon's lily-white hand and said with a smile. Xiao Yuelon raised her head to look at him and gave a charming smile. Then she kissed his lips. "Is this okay?" Again, Qin Yun chuckled as he licked his lips. As expected, Xiao Yuelon kissed him again. Unknowingly, the 2 of them hugged each other tightly and kissed each other in a very awkward manner. A moment later, Qin Yun was satisfied. Xiao Yuelon's pretty face flushed red as she left Qin Yun's embrace. She said, "Aunt might come looking for you in a while. As for whether Yueme will come or not, I'm not sure." "Why is she looking for me?" Qin Yun asked. "Tian Shao Imperial Tomb." Xiao Yuelon said solemnly, "She wants you to accompany her to the Tian Shao Imperial Tomb." "Why does she suddenly want to go to the Tian Shao Imperial Tomb? Aren't you going with me?" Qin Yun also found it strange as he asked. Xiao Yuelon said, "I'm very busy in the Blue Spirit Saint Palace. I run around all day and kill magical beasts everywhere. I just happened to pass by here, so I came to see you, and want to go to the Tian Shao Imperial Tomb to take a look." She said that she has something to confirm. "Yuelon, if you see Boss Xie, help me tell him if he has the time. If he does, come with us to the Tian Shao Imperial Tomb. He also knows that the key to the Tian Shao Imperial Tomb is with me. Furthermore, we made an appointment to go together." Qin Yun nodded. "He shouldn't be free. I don't even have the time to go, let alone him. Your boss, yeah, is really powerful. Although he only has one arm, he is very strong in the Blue Spirit Saint Palace. That's why he has the most things to do, Xiao Yuelon said. Xiao Yuelon walked to the door and suddenly turned around. There's still more than a year before you go challenge Xiao Yonglong. Whether or not you can kill this guy will depend on you. In any case, I don't have a chance to do anything to him. He's always on guard against me, worried that I'll fight him to the death. Don't worry, I'll definitely kill him. Qin Yun smiled. Xiao Yuelon smiled at him and knocked on the stone door, asking the people outside to open it. Qin Yun hurriedly ran to the 9-yang spirit convergence array and sat in the middle, seizing the time to cultivate. He had been using the 9-yang spirit convergence array for a few months and had condensed a lot of internal supreme force. He was about to turn the thunder and fire inner yuan into an inner core. As he cultivated, he recalled his kiss with Xiao Yuelon and could not help but feel happy. His heart was sweet as he grinned. After Qin Yun cultivated his internal supreme force for a period of time, he would also relax and allow the thunder and fire inner yuan to absorb and digest it. And at this time, he would practice the martial skills he had mastered. Compared to the other geniuses, the martial skills he had mastered were not many, especially those geniuses who had been specially nurtured. They had mastered dozens or even hundreds of martial skills. Just the movement techniques alone were several. This was to prevent the opponent from breaking them and being able to change their martial skills in time. Qin Yun's movement technique was only the flaming cloud steps. Fortunately, his perception was very high. He was able to cultivate the flaming cloud steps to the great perfection stage, allowing him to fly in the air early on. Currently, he was also constantly practicing the flaming cloud steps. When he used the Vajra inner strength and some inner supreme force, his speed would increase by a lot. Originally, his speed was around 100 meters per second, but now he could reach 100 meters per second. If he used pure inner supreme force to execute the flaming cloud steps, he would be able to reach the acme of perfection. His speed would be able to reach more than 200 meters per second. In the 9th level martial body realm, this was a very fast speed. It seems that if I want to cultivate a martial skill to perfection, I must have enough inner supreme force. Qin Yun finally understood that as long as he could perfectly use pure inner supreme force to execute most martial skills, he would be able to reach the acme of perfection. Qin Yun could do it relatively easily, but it was not easy for others to cultivate a martial skill to the great perfection stage. Comprehension of martial arts was not something that could be achieved by just eating pills. Therefore, this was the most troublesome thing for many so-called geniuses. Qin Yun was also a person who could endure loneliness. He had been crippled when he was 10 years old, but he had endured for 5 years by himself. Now that he had been locked up for 10 months, it was nothing to him. Furthermore, he had a lot of martial arts to cultivate, so it was very easy to get through. Very quickly, 3 months had passed. Qin Yun had stayed in the dungeon for 10 months and could finally leave. Unknowingly, Qin Yun was cultivating when he suddenly sensed the stone door open. "Who came to see me?" he thought to himself. Chapter 252. Geniuses and Proud Sons of Heaven. Qin Yun was taken aback. He never expected that he would pass through 10 months so quickly. He looked at his left arm. The thunder and fire elemental energy inside had already turned into a Vajra inner core more than 10 days ago. Now he was a 9th level martial body cultivator with 3 Vajra inner cores. He put away the 9-yang spirit convergence array on the ground and looked at the stone room. He said with a smile, "Farewell, I will never return again." Qin Yun walked out of the stone room and followed the middle-aged man out of the dungeon. When he came up from the dungeon, he was still inside the arena. He hurriedly went to the main hall of the arena and rented a room. He took a good bath inside, changed into clean white clothes, and trimmed his hair and beard. After staying in the dungeon for 10 months, he had turned a lot whiter. He changed into a clean set of white clothes and looked very spirited. handsome and unrestrained without losing his composure. Qin left the room and arrived at the main hall of the arena. Suddenly, he heard a series of shouts. In the arena, a very regular martial arts competition was taking place, which caused many people to cheer. He hurriedly walked toward the passageway to the spectator stands. Just as he walked out, he saw three people he was very familiar with standing on the battling platform. It was Huizhong, Murong Darren, and Shuezai. The three of them were on the battling platform, resisting the attacks of the four young martial artists with great difficulty. Qin looked at the side of the battling platform. There were actually many injured students of the Heaven's Pride Academy. The competition between the Heaven's Pride Academy and the Genius Academy had actually begun. Qin had originally planned to see who was competing, but he never expected that it would be a battle between the two academies. He hurriedly walked to the side of the battling platform and stood behind Lan Fengjin. Lan Fengjin's face was filled with worry as she looked at the battling platform. She did not know that Qin was approaching. When many of the students and instructors of the Heaven's Pride Academy saw Qin appear, a glimmer of hope suddenly appeared in their eyes that were originally filled with disappointment. "Sister Lan, what's the situation now?" Qin looked at the students of the Genius Academy. They were on the other side of the battling platform, and there were not many who were injured. When Lan Fengjin saw Qin, she was pleasantly surprised. She hurriedly shouted to Huizhong and company, "Qin is out. All of you, quickly get off the battling platform." Huizhong and the other two had more or less some injuries on their bodies. Furthermore, they looked very tired, as if they had gone through many battles. When they heard Lan Fengjin's words, they hastily walked down the stage. All of them were so tired that they were gasping for breath. Qin was confused. None of the students from the Heaven's Pride Academy could fight. They were all injured as they sat below the battling platform. On the other hand, most of the students from the Genius Institute were full of energy. "Qin, the situation now is very serious." Lan Fengjin's face darkened as she said, "We were ambushed by the other side. They used a few young students at the 9th level martial body realm from the very beginning. We were caught off guard, causing many teams to be defeated by them." Lan Fengjin quickly explained the situation to Qin. After Qin heard that, he also found it somewhat troublesome. At the beginning of the competition between the Heaven's Pride Academy and the Genius Academy, each sent a small team to compete. As long as they won, they could continue to stand on the battling platform and defend it. The loser would never be able to go on stage again. As a result, whichever team was able to stand on the battling platform in the end would be the victor of the competition. All the students in the academy would be able to obtain 100 million Xin points. The Heaven's Pride Academy and the Genius Academy each had 25 teams. Right now, on the side of the Heaven's Pride Academy, all the teams have been defeated. As for the Genius team, only 10 teams have been defeated. Furthermore, they were all defeated by Huizhong and company. This was not easy. Fortunately, after the 9th level martial body team got tired, they left the stage. The other side no longer had a martial artist at the 9th level martial body realm. "Qin, you're the only one who has never been on stage. You can still go on stage. Whether or not our Heaven's Pride Academy can win depends on you." Lan Fengjin knew that Qin's cultivation was close to the 9th level martial body realm. It was even possible that he was already at the 9th level martial body realm. A teacher walked over and said, "Qin, on the side of the Heaven's Pride Academy, only your team has won. If our Heaven's Pride Academy wins in the end, we will be able to distribute a total of 10 billion Xin points. If every team wins, then every student will be able to obtain 100 million Xin points. And now, only your team has won. If you can win 15 matches in a row, then your team will be able to obtain even more Xin points. With a total of 10 billion Xin points, your team will be able to obtain 2 billion. The four of you will be able to split it equally, and each of you will be able to obtain 500 million Xin points." Lan Fengjin nodded at Qin. "That's right, that's it. Qin, if we win, not only will we obtain Xin points, our team will also be able to obtain an Earth Tier cultivation technique. It's said to be a movement technique. Qin Yun was tempted by the words and wished that he could immediately go on stage. When the audience saw Qin Yun's figure, they guessed that the Heaven's Pride Academy had placed all their hopes on Qin Yun. Qin Yun alone had to win 15 matches in a row to obtain the final victory. And in every match, his opponents were 4 people. Because Qin Yun had previously defeated Zhou Zhonghui with very strong strength, no one dared to question his strength again. Although they felt that it was impossible, they did not come to a conclusion. Qin Yun has stayed in the dungeon for 10 months. Perhaps his cultivation level has improved. It's highly possible. This fellow's cultivation was close to the 9th level martial body realm. There are no 9th level martial body cultivators in the Genius Academy. It's hard to say when they face Qin Yun. 3 Radiance is the strongest 8th level martial body team, but they have lost to Qin Yun twice. It's hard to say. Qin Yun's Heaven's Pride Academy will definitely lose. They don't have enough time. Look at that hourglass. There's only an hour left. As long as the Prodigy Academy can stall for time, the Prodigy Academy will lose in the end. Lan Fengjin also saw that there was not much time left. She said, "Qin Yun, it's up to you. Hurry up and go up." Qin Yun nodded and then jumped onto the stage. He must win. If he won, Lan Fengjin, as his instructor, would receive a generous reward. He owed Lan Fengjin hundreds of millions of crystal coins. If he could really let Lan Fengjin obtain the reward, this debt would be written off. Furthermore, if he won, he would also receive 500 million Xian points and an Earth Tier movement technique. There's no need to defeat him. Just stall for time on the battling platform. When Xiaoyang Long from the Genius Academy saw Qin Yun appear, his hatred surged. Of course, he wanted to kill Qin Yun, but he knew that it would not be easy. Qin Yun's strength had advanced by leaps and bounds. Even a 9th level martial body cultivator like Zhou Zhonghui, who possessed a totem martial spirit, had been killed. Even a few 8th level martial body cultivators would find it extremely difficult to face Qin Yun. The 4 youths from the Genius Academy quickly moved around the battling platform. From time to time, they would unleash a ball of inner strength at Qin Yun. Qin Yun stood on the spot without moving. When the inner strength struck him, his body trembled, and the overflowing inner strength was able to shake it off. Running around, it's really dazzling. Qin Yun suddenly took a step forward. In an instant, he moved at a speed of more than 100 meters. In the blink of an eye, he arrived behind a youth and struck out with his palm. This was the second style of Wind Slayer, Wave Breaker. The inner force that Qin Yun slashed out carried the momentum of breaking waves as it struck the youth's back. The youth immediately spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying off the battling platform. If he was knocked off the battling platform, he would lose. Qin Yun had just asked Lan Fengjin. In this kind of martial arts competition, even if he injured his opponent, he would not go to jail. That was because this was only the Heaven's Pride Academy and the Genius Academy borrowing the battling platform. After killing a martial artist, Qin Yun would only feel more and more relaxed. He immediately rushed towards another youth, and in an instant, he used the wave breaker style to blast his opponent off the battling platform. There were only 2 people left in the Genius Academy's team. Furthermore, they were at the 7th level martial body realm. With just a few moves, Qin Yun had beaten them until they vomited blood and flew off the battling platform. The Heaven's Pride Academy has won. Genius Academy, please send someone up immediately, the old referee said. Because time was of the essence, the Genius Academy was not allowed to waste time. Of course, the Heaven's Pride Academy could waste time. When Lan Fengjin saw Qin Yun easily win, she felt a lot more at ease. Is Qin Yun at the 9th level martial body realm? Why does it look like he's fighting a child? He won in a few moves. That's right. The people from a Genius Academy are on a completely different level compared to Qin Yun. The Genius Academy has sent someone up. There's actually only one person. Are they doing this to stall for time? Qin Yun looked at the young man, sent up, and frowned slightly. He looked at the hourglass and felt that something was amiss. That was because there were still dozens of people on the other side. Begin, the old referee shouted. From the beginning, Qin Yun was the first to attack. His speed was fast, his attack was fast, and his attack was fierce. Using his hand as a blade, he executed the wind, slaying mountains, splitting style, sending the young man flying into a distant stone wall. I told you to only send one person up. If one comes, I'll cripple one. Qin Yun looked at Xiao Yanglong with a sneer. The students of the Genius Academy were all followers of Xiao Yanglong. Qin Yun would not show any mercy. When they saw the miserable state of that student, many students began to worry secretly. That was because even if he was beaten to death, Qin Yun would not be in the wrong. After all, this kind of martial arts competition was a competition of the limits. Xiao Yanglong also knew that if he sent one person up, no one would dare to go up. Helpless, he could only send a small team up. The team that had just gone up was immediately blasted off the battling platform by Qin Yun's extremely powerful inner strength. All of them were severely injured. When the students of the Heaven's Pride Academy saw how terrifying Qin Yun's strength was, they were both shocked and overjoyed. If Qin Yun won, they would also receive tens of millions of Xin points as a reward. The Genius Academy could not delay any longer. If they were to lose, they had to send their students up within 5 seconds. Otherwise, their team would be judged to have lost. The students on stage all had faces filled with fear, especially those at the 7th level martial body realm. They were no match for Qin Yun. Xiao Yanglong cursed Qin Yun in his heart. If Qin Yun was locked up for another day, then they would have one today. However, Qin Yun had appeared at the most critical moment. The team that went up could not last more than 10 seconds before they were knocked down. All of them were severely injured. On the side of the Genius Academy, 5 teams went up in a row, and all of them flew down with serious injuries. Chapter 253. Mysterious Skill. What was funny was that no students from a Genius Academy went up on stage. No matter how Xiao Yanglong threatened or cursed, no students went up on stage. All of them were extremely terrified. Very quickly, 2 teams were announced to have lost their qualifications. On the side of the Genius Academy, there were only 8 teams left. If this continued and no team went up within 5 seconds, one team would be eliminated. Qin Yun, you might not have enough time. How about this? I'll send the rest of the teams up and settle this once and for all. That way, you won't have to worry about not having enough time. Xiao Yanglong looked at the hourglass. He was also gambling because no one knew if Qin Yun would win without a fight or if the Genius Academy would succeed in winning with time. All right, send your 8 teams up, Qin Yun said. As long as both sides agreed, it would be allowed. With 8 teams going up together, there were more than 30 people. These students had nothing to be afraid of as they all jumped up. The entire audience immediately went into an uproar. Qin Yun wanted to single-handedly fight 8 teams. Isn't Qin Yun being too confident? If he doesn't agree, no students from a Genius Academy will be able to catch up and the teams will be disqualified one by one. In the end, they will definitely be able to win with time. That's right, Qin Yun is being a little arrogant. Not necessarily, because no one can accurately grasp how much time is left in the end. If Qin Yun can win, then that would be too terrifying. There are at least 5 at the 8th level martial body realm in the Genius Academy. Although the others are at the 7th level martial body realm, they will definitely be of some use. Qin Yun should have lost. A good man can't hold back a pack of wolves. Lan Fengjin bit her lips as she looked at Qin Yun. Success or failure depended on this. Xiao Yanglong smiled complacently. He felt that the outcome of the battle was already decided. In his eyes, even a 9th level martial body cultivator would not be able to defeat so many people. One had to know that these students were all very outstanding. Especially after going through special training, they had improved greatly in all aspects. The martial arts competition began. The students of the Genius Academy all used their Vajra inner strength to attack Qin Yun crazily. They were scattered all over the spacious battling platform. This could prevent their teammates from being accidentally injured and also prevent Qin Yun from killing a large number of them in one go. Qin Yun leaped into the air and dodged. the countless balls of inner strength that suddenly struck him. Boom, boom, boom. Countless inner strength balls collided with each other, producing a series of explosions and flashes that enveloped the entire contest stage. These inner strength explosions shook the sky crazily. The entire arena was enveloped by the loud sounds, and it was impossible to hear anyone's voice. Such a grand scene made everyone exclaim in satisfaction. Everyone looked at Qin Yun, who jumped into the sky, and felt that he was very stupid, because it was very easy to become a target in the sky, and it was also more convenient to attack. The Genius Academy students on the ground saw Qin Yun and were about to attack. However, they saw Qin Yun clench his fist, raise his arm high, and fiercely hammer the ground. He used his arm as a giant hammer to attack, and used the sixth style of the Forging Dragon, Heaven Ruin. The scariest thing was that he used pure internal energy to execute tsunami technique to create shockwaves. Using the shockwaves, he executed the sixth style of Forging Dragon, Heaven's Ruin. The tsunami technique had already reached perfection. Once it was used, the earth would shake and the mountains would shake. Coupled with the Forging Dragon Heaven Devastation style, the boundless might was simply insane. It was as if the earth and mountains were shaking and the heavens and earth were collapsing. The powerful strike from the pure internal supreme force also caused Qin Yun's heavenly lion arm to feel intense pain. Even though his heavenly lion arm had a Vajra inner core, it was still torn apart by the force. The force of Qin Yun's attack fell down and crushed all the balls of inner strength that flew up. Boom! The power of the tsunami landed on the bronze battling platform, causing an earth-shaking explosion. The entire Star Xianwu Academy was shaken by the explosion. A series of miserable shrieks rang out. The 30 or so Genius Institute students on the stage were struck by this terrifying power. Their bodies immediately split open and they flew out of the stage, dripping with blood. This terrifying chi wave's aura did not diminish at all. The berserk chi wave overflowed from the battle stage's barrier and formed an incomparably powerful astral wind that blew in all directions, causing many people to shout again and again. And the most terrifying thing was that the shockwaves from the tsunami technique continued to impact the battling platform. 10 consecutive shockwaves poured into the battling platform, causing cracks to appear on the ground around the battling platform. The power of the shockwave was the strongest. It poured into the ground, causing the entire arena to collapse. The audience seats were torn apart. This arena had already fallen into a dangerous situation, as if it could completely collapse at any moment. Qin Yun slowly landed on the ground. He held the heavenly lion's arm with one hand and panted slightly. He said, "Have we won?" The scene was in chaos. After the howling winds stopped, everyone looked at the huge arena that had turned into a mess. They could not help but feel incomparably terrified. The people around the battling platform were in the most sorry state. All of them had disheveled hair as they looked at Qin Yun, who was on the battling platform, in astonishment. Xiao Yanglong was infuriated. Qin Yun's strength had already made him feel a trace of fear. Internal Supreme Force. Internal Supreme Force. Qin Yun is at the 9th level martial body realm. Was that the tsunami technique just now? Legend has it that using pure inner force to execute a martial skill is at the pinnacle of perfection. He did it. Qin Yun, who is at the 9th level martial body realm, has reached the pinnacle of perfection. This kind of power is too terrifying. When they learned that Qin Yun was a martial artist at the 9th level martial body realm, the arena once again erupted into a commotion. The few vice principals and teachers who had sensed the commotion were all shocked as they looked at the messy arena below. In the air above the arena, there were still remnants of pure internal supreme force. This meant that someone had used pure internal supreme force to execute a martial skill. Lan Fingjin's eyes widened as she could not believe what had happened in front of her. She had actually witnessed with her own eyes someone using pure internal supreme force to execute a Xian-level martial art. This kind of power was terrifying to the extreme. When the few elders in charge of managing the arena saw the arena turn into such a state, their hearts ached, and they were even more alarmed. That was because it was all done by Qin Yun. The Heaven's Pride Academy wins. The old referee with a head full of dust shouted with a surprised expression. After a moment of silence, a burst of cheers erupted. Amongst them, the injured students of the Heaven's Pride Academy were the loudest. At the last moment, their Heaven's Pride Academy had turned defeat into victory because of Qin Yun's appearance. As for the people from the Genius Academy, they were busy dealing with the injured students. The last batch of students were the most heavily injured. They were still alive after being struck by the tsunami heavenly destruction. They could be considered to be lucky. Xiao Yanglong's eyes were filled with endless anger and hatred. He looked at Qin Yun, who was standing upright on the battling platform. A fierce killing intent surged over and enveloped the battling platform. Originally, their Genius Academy was about to win. At that time, not only would he, Xiao Yanglong, gain the favor of this group of students, he would also receive a generous reward from the instructor. But now, this group of students who were willing to follow him had been mostly destroyed by Qin Yun. Furthermore, he had lost that reward. It would be strange if Xiao Yanglong wasn't angry. Previously, many people felt that Qin Yun challenging Xiao Yanglong was like hitting a rock with an egg. But now, no one dared to say what the final outcome would be. Now, Qin Yun had already displayed an extremely terrifying strength. After the victory of the Heaven's Pride Academy, the students went to an old man to receive their rewards. Qin Yun also walked down the dueling platform and towards Huazhong and company. Brother Yun, well done. There are so many students in the Star Xianwu Academy, but I only admire you. Mu Rongjun walked over with a smile and said, Brother Yun, thanks to you, we all received 500 million Xian points. Huazhong was also very happy. Qin Yun, it's my luck to meet you. Shuizai revealed a natural and beautiful smile before asking softly, Is your arm all right? The power you just unleashed is not something that a 9th-level martial body can withstand. It's fine. I have the arm of the Heavenly Lion. Qin Yun smiled indifferently. I never expected that I would encounter such a good thing the moment I came out of the dungeon. I even earned 500 million Xian points. It was also at this moment that many students came over to thank Qin Yun and congratulate their team. Lan Fingjin's face was filled with a gratified smile as she said to Qin Yun, My 500 million crystal coins were not spent in vain. Seeing how you worked so hard to obtain the teacher's reward for me, let's write it off. Sister Lan, what exactly is that reward? Mu Rongjun asked curiously. Qin Yun and company were the same as they looked at Lan Fingjin curiously. Martial Spirit Mysterious Art for short. Lan Fingjin's eyes were filled with excitement. Qin Yun and company took a deep breath. Mysterious Technique was a type of martial spirit martial technique. It was extremely rare and had only been recorded in books. The most powerful thing was that one could use their martial spirit to unleash a mysterious art and possess all sorts of strange powers. For example, there were some mysterious arts that could allow the fire martial spirit to transform into all sorts of strange forms. In the records of the books, it was described that there were martial Dao realm cultivators who could use a mysterious art to transform their fire martial spirit into a flaming horse that could travel 10,000 miles a day. In short, a mysterious art was a cultivation technique that could make a martial spirit mysterious and powerful. If it was a combat-type mysterious art, it would be even more astonishing. At the same level of the martial Dao realm, those who mastered a mysterious art would be able to fight 1 against 3. No wonder Xiao Yanglong hates me so much, Qin Yun said with a smile. I still don't know what kind of mysterious art it is. I'll have to go to Blue Spirit Star Palace to collect it. Lan Fingjin said, Actually, the one who suffered the most from creating the Heaven's Pride Academy and the Genius Academy is the Blue Spirit Star Palace. It's just that they thought that they would be the final winner. Shuizai said, Let's go back. This place seems to be collapsing. There's been an earthquake before, and the entire arena has already loosened up a lot. Mu Rongjun said with a smile. Brother Yun, you're really amazing. You've turned this 1,000-year-old arena into this. The old fellow in charge of this place must hate you to death. Humph. Sister Lan gave them 500 million crystal coins, and they actually locked me up for 10 months. They deserve it, Qin Yun said with a displeased expression. Then he took out his Xian Point crystal card and collected 500 million Xian points and the Earth Tier movement technique, mysterious star steps. Then he hurriedly left the arena with Hua Zhong and company. Chapter 254. Maybelline's discovery. After Qin Yun woke up, he went to the hall. Lan Fengjin laughed. I originally thought that the Heaven's Pride Academy would be open for 2 years. I never expected it to end now. It's a rare fate that we can be together. Shuezai said, after I return, I will go to the East Palace of Blue Spirit Star Palace. Qin Yun, when are you going to enter Blue Spirit Star Palace? In another year or so. At that time, I will challenge Xiao Yanglong and enter the Blue Spirit West Palace to become the chief disciple. Qin Yun smiled. Now, all of you should no longer doubt my strength, right? Brother Yun, you better be careful. Xiao Yanglong is not that easy to deal with. Murong Darren warned Qin Yun sternly. Hua Zhong also nodded and said, Xiao Yanglong's strength is unfathomable. He has been in the martial Dao realm for a long time. He is definitely not simple. Lan Fengjin said, Qin Yun, in short, try your best to increase your strength within a year. With your cultivation at the 9th level martial body realm, it is really difficult for you to deal with Xiao Yanglong. Unless Qin Yun can step into the martial Dao realm in a year. Shuezai said. Hua Zhong and the others were shocked. If Qin Yun were to step into the martial Dao realm a year later, he would only be 18 years old. Is this possible? Murong Darren looked at Qin Yun before turning to Lan Fengjin and asked, Sister Lan, how difficult is it to step into the martial Dao realm from the 9th level martial body realm? It's hard to say. There are many factors involved. Lan Fengjin took a deep breath and sternly warned Qin Yun. Qin Yun, don't force yourself to break through. Many people encounter big problems when breaking through because they are too anxious, causing them to go berserk. Qin Yun nodded immediately. His father had suffered a qi deviation because of this and nearly lost his life. Therefore, he paid special attention to this matter. Then I'll take my leave first. I'll enter the Blue Spirit Star Palace as soon as possible so that my strength can quickly increase. After bidding farewell to Qin Yun and company, she walked out of the building and left the Star Xian Wu Academy with the other elders. Lan Fengjin said with a smile, I'm also in a hurry to go back and collect my Xian technique. I'll be leaving first. Hua Zhong and Murong Darren would return with Ho Xingfeng. Ho Xingfeng was the principal of the Star Xian Wu Academy to begin with. This time, he would be staying for a few days. All right, I might want to enter the Tian Shao Imperial Tomb. Are you interested in going together? Back then, we said that we would enter together to take a look, said Qin Yun. The last time Xiao Yuelan went to the dungeon to see him, she said that Xiao Xianqin would come and find him to discuss entering the Tian Shao Imperial Tomb. Hua Zhong said, I may not go. If I go to the Tian Shao Imperial Mausoleum, I don't know how long it will take. I still have a lot of things to do in the Beast Martial Palace. Murong Darren laughed. Brother Yun, if you go by yourself, we will be more at ease. After all, you're so strong, but you still have to be careful. Qin Yun nodded. I know, it depends on whether Boss Xie has time or not. If he comes with me, that would be for the best. Boss Xie is now an important figure in the Sacred Palace. He's very busy. It's said that the Palace Master of the Sacred Palace values him very much and seems to want to take him as his last disciple. Hua Zhong said, That's great. When he becomes stronger, if we have any problems in the Blue Spirit Star Palace in the future, we can ask him for help. Qin Yun said with a smile. Murong Darren and Hua Zhong decided not to go to the Tian Shao Imperial Tomb. They felt that they were not strong enough and were worried that they would implicate Qin Yun. This was because the Tian Shao imperial tomb was in the wilderness. Now, that magical beasts were rampant. If they were to encounter a powerful horde of magical beasts, they would not have enough strength to fight. Qin Yin treated them to a meal and brought Morong Darren and Huizhong to drink. After a hearty meal, they returned. 500 million Xian points. I wonder how to use them. On the way back to the treasure forest, Qin Yin thought about many things. He did not know if he would be able to step into the martial Dao realm in a year. Although he had 3 Vajra inner cores, there was still a gap between him and Xiao Yanglong, who had stepped into the martial Dao realm. After he returned to the treasure forest, he suddenly sensed a familiar aura. Brother Yun, a graceful figure gently flew down from the top of the tree. It was a woman wearing a white dress. She was like a fairy that had descended to the mortal world, beautiful and refined. Little Mei Lian, Qin Yin shouted happily. It had been a long time since he had seen Qi Milan. Now that he saw her, she had changed a lot. She was beautiful, and she was also much taller. The only thing that had not changed was that her eyes were still filled with innocence. Brother Yun, you're really amazing. I also saw your match in the arena. When Qi Milan saw Qin Yun, she was also very happy. Her face was brimming with a sweet smile. To her, Qin Yun could be considered as her only relative. It's those bad guys who are too weak. Qin Yun gently caressed her smooth and lovely face as he said with a smile. He brought Qi Milan into a cave and sat her down. He took out some sweet fruit juice and gave it to her to drink. Qin Yun looked at his sister, who had grown up a lot. When he thought of what had happened to her, a strong sense of tenderness rose in his heart. He really wanted to protect this innocent little girl and not let her suffer any more grievances. Brother Yin, under the guidance of my teacher, I broke through very quickly. Now, I'm also at the 9th level martial body realm. Qi Milan gently licked the delicious juice on her lips and said with a happy smile. Qin Yin could not help but caress her lovely face and say, Little Mei Lian is really amazing. In the future, she will be stronger than Brother Yin. When that time comes, you will have to protect me. Qi Milan nodded seriously. I will definitely become stronger and not let those bad guys bully Big Brother. She was 1 or 2 years younger than Qin Yin, but she was now at the 9th level martial body realm. This kind of talent was even more terrifying than Xiao Yuelan's. However, many people did not know about it. Qin Yin felt that if he had the chance, he would have to thank teacher Qi Milan. He only knew that the teacher was an old granny. She was usually very fierce, but she treated Qi Milan very well. Qin Yin was not surprised that Qi Milan's cultivation could increase so quickly since she possessed the immortal graveyard diagram. Little Mei Lian, it's very dangerous outside right now. Without your teacher leading you, it's best if you don't go out by yourself. Qin Yin held Qi Milan's small hand and stuffed a few body-securing talismans into her hands. He said, These are body-securing talismans. They're for you to protect yourself. When Qi Milan heard that, she frowned worriedly and whispered, Brother Yun, is this body-securing talisman very difficult to refine? I'll leave it with you. You need to use it often when you go out. It's not difficult to refine. Keep it. Qin Yin smiled as his heart warmed. Qi Milan could only accept it. She knew that Qin Yin was thinking about her safety. Little Mei Lian, did your teacher suggest that you enter the Blue Spirit Star Palace? Qin Yin asked. He felt that if Qi Milan wanted to go to the Blue Spirit Star Palace, it would be more appropriate to go to the Eastern Palace. She didn't mention it to me. She just told me not to tell anyone else about my current cultivation, but I can tell you. Qi Milan smiled sweetly and said, Teacher treats me very well. You don't have to worry about me. Qin Yin could also tell that Qi Milan was currently extremely happy. He nodded in relief. Qin Yin brought Qi Milan and flew to the top of the Star Sun treasure tree. He sat on a thick branch and looked at the myriad star lake outside the Star Xianwu Academy. The originally calm myriad star lake was still filled with waves that had been going on for many days. After the news of the waves in the myriad star lake spread, many people felt fear. However, after many days passed, the world remained calm and everyone gradually forgot about this matter. Brother, have you ever seen the myriad star lake at night? Milin suddenly said. Teacher brought me out a few times at night. In the sky, I saw the myriad star lake rise and fall. The stars reflected on the surface of the lake also moved along with it. That kind of starlight is very beautiful. Yin shook his head and said with a smile, No, but since you said that, I must go take a look. Little Mei Lin said that something beautiful must be very beautiful. Milin playfully stuck out her tongue and said with a chuckle, Big brother, big sister Yulan came to find me. She's really nice. She's not as fierce as the rumors say. Don't bully her in the future. It's fine as long as she doesn't bully me. Yin laughed involuntarily and said. Milin looked at the myriad star lake and said worriedly, Big brother, is the legend of the myriad star lake true? If the 9 suns disappeared, what would happen to the world? Would it fall into darkness? I don't know. In short, when the time comes, Big brother will definitely protect you. I will be your sun, forever illuminating your world. Yin smiled and pinched her cute face. Milin's beautiful eyes flickered. She was very happy. Yin brought her to play in the treasure forest for an entire day. In the evening, they watched the 9 red suns slowly descend and disappear at the end of the myriad star lake. Milin played with Yin for an entire day and was very happy. She left the treasure forest to look for her teacher. She was going to go into seclusion again. She did not know when she would come out. Yin was suddenly very curious about Milin's teacher and flew to Du Gui's tree hole. Du Gui was in the hall with a pile of stones. It was a stone used to test mental strength. Yin had broken many of them during the test. Teacher, who is little Mei Lin's teacher? She's very mysterious. Yin asked. I heard that she's an old granny. What's her background? Her teacher is indeed mysterious. He is in the martial Dao realm and has only entered the Star Xianwu Academy in the past few years. Although he is a bit strict, he is still very good. You can rest assured that in the Star Xianwu Academy, little Mei Lin will definitely be safe. Du Gui said with a smile. Quickly help me get these stones and burn them blue. The stones on the ground were all white. Du Gui was burning them piece by piece very slowly. Yin took out a furnace and filled it with white stones before setting it on fire. Is this okay? Du Gui asked doubtfully. Of course. A moment later, Yin opened the furnace and took out a very hot blue stone with his bare hands. He handed it to Du Gui. Chapter 255. Starry Sky and the Waves Following That. Yin helped Du Gui burn many things. They were all stones. He only worked until late at night and finished the work that Du Gui needed to work on for a month. Du Gui was amazed by this because he felt that Yun's level was no longer that of a beginner inscription master. Indeed, Yun is now a high-level inscription master. Late at night, Yun did not rest. Instead, he walked out of the Star Xianwu Academy and flew above the Myriad Star Lake. Originally, when a Myriad Star Lake was very calm, it was like a strange mirror. When the sky was filled with stars, the Myriad Star Lake was also dotted with stars. It was very beautiful. But now, the Myriad Star Lake was no longer tranquil. Instead, huge waves crashed incessantly all day long. The surface of the lake rose and fell, never calm. Yun used the flame cloud steps and looked down at the entire Myriad Star Lake from a height of 10,000 meters. He had also heard from Malian that although there were waves in the Myriad Star Lake, it would be very beautiful when looked down from the sky on a starry night. I can't see the stars at all. The motes of light on the lake's surface are moving everywhere. Yun frowned. The scene he saw was not beautiful. It could be said that it was not pleasant at all. He believed in Malian and felt that she would definitely not speak carelessly. Could it be that what little Malian sees is different from what I see? Yun floated high in the sky and continued watching. He observed very carefully without blinking. After more than 2 hours, he suddenly realized that no matter how the stars in the sky moved, the starlight on the surface of the lake didn't seem to change at all. For example, the moon reflected on the surface of the lake moved about an hour slower than the moon in the sky. At this time, the surface of the lake was billowing, and the lake water was undulating. It was not easy to reflect the light of the stars and moon in the sky. However, the entire Myriad Star Lake could do it. After Qin Yin discovered this point, he suddenly had a very strange feeling in his heart. This Myriad Star Lake was far more mysterious than he had imagined. Little Mei Lian must have seen the extremely beautiful Myriad Star Lake. Why is that? Although Qin Yin discovered that the Myriad Star Lake with waves was indeed very strange at night, he was unable to see the beauty that Qin Mei Lian had mentioned. He floated in the air, deep in thought. Could it be because Little Mei Lian's state of mind is different? Therefore, the things that she can see, ordinary people can't. Qin Yin suddenly thought of this. Qin Mei Lian was so simple and innocent. Although she had experienced many painful things, she was always optimistic and threw her worries to the back of her mind. Qin Yin suddenly suspected that Qin Mei Lian's martial spirit was a strange martial spirit that could cause people to lose their memories. This was because Xiao Wufeng and the others had seen that martial spirit before, but they could not recall it. Could it be that I have to cast aside all distracting thoughts and maintain a calm heart in order to see the beauty that Little Mei Lian sees? Qin Yin pondered before closing his eyes, allowing himself to enter an ethereal state. His mental strength was very strong, and he could control his mind very well. After feeling that he had entered a very good and calm state, he opened his eyes and saw that the Myriad Star Lake was shining with resplendent starlight. It was multicolored and sparkling, incomparably beautiful. Qin Yun's entire mind was stunned by the incomparably beautiful Myriad Star Lake. All he wanted to do was enter the beautiful sea of stars and soar within it. This is a picture. I wonder what it is. To be able to form a formation, there are many inscriptions within it. Qin Yun was extremely sensitive to these inscriptions and could immediately tell. Under the dazzling glow of the Myriad Star Lake, there was a huge formation, 108 nodes. The distribution of the nodes is very precise. They correspond to many star positions in the sky. This structure is similar to the Great Formation on the Soul Guiding Star Peak. However, that Great Formation does not have any dark lines. Qin Yun's major discovery made him take a deep breath. He suspected that this star formation was a natural star or a man-made one. He hurriedly took out a piece of paper and recorded the entire star formation and the many inscriptions within it. He did not know what the use of the star formation was, but he was extremely interested in it and wanted to investigate it. Because this star formation was too large, he couldn't record that much in one night. At dawn, he could only go back and rest. He would come back when it was dark. For the next month, he would come to the top of the Myriad Star Lake every night to record this huge star formation. It took him an entire month to completely record down. I can't set up such a star formation right now. Qin Yin looked at the large beast's skin. The inscriptions were extremely complicated and densely packed. They were connected to many points and interspersed with each other. Just looking at them gave him a headache. He could only use a pen to draw on the beast's skin. If he wanted to carve it, who knew how long it would take? In the middle of the Myriad Star Lake, there was a small island. Therefore, the circular star formation was empty in the middle. Although the middle is empty, this star formation is complete. How strange. Qin Yin carefully looked at the beast's skin and realized that the inscriptions were all very mysterious as they circled around the island in the middle. Perhaps this is not as simple as a star formation. Qin Yin carefully looked at the inscriptions on the star formation once again. His mental power was cultivated through the 9 Yang divine spirit. It allowed him to have a very high level of comprehension towards inscriptions. Therefore, he could see some rather special areas. There are 8 inscriptions that are exactly the same. From 8 directions, they pass through 9 nodes and extend to the empty space in the middle. Only these 8 inscriptions have no nodes at the end, and they all point to the middle. Qin Yin looked at the 8 spirit inscriptions and faintly felt that these 8 inscriptions were 8 routes that guided people to the center of the Myriad Star Lake. Could this be a map? At this moment, he was in a state of chaos. He didn't know if it had anything to do with his conjecture. This was because in the legends of the Myriad Star Lake, there was a dragon ox at the bottom of the lake that carried the entire island. Do I really have to go take a look? Qin Yun looked at the star map on the table. His heart suddenly thumped as he thought of the pitch-black and bottomless lake. His heart was immediately filled with fear. He had never felt such fear when facing a powerful magical beast or a powerful enemy. He swallowed his saliva and stared at the few routes on the star map. He gritted his teeth and said, "So be it. It might have something to do with the Lan Shao Martial King. If I can really find out some secrets, I can also gain a better understanding of the Blue Spirit Star Palace." The Star Young Heart Sutra that Qin Yun cultivated belonged to the Lan Shao Martial King. It was also because he cultivated the Star Young Heart Sutra that his mental strength had advanced by leaps and bounds, allowing him to have a more thorough understanding of all kinds of inscriptions. After making his decision, Qin Yun immediately took action. At this moment, he was a martial artist at the 9th level martial body realm. He also possessed great strength. He felt that even if he met a gigantic beast at the bottom of the Myriad Star Lake, he would still be able to deal with it. Many people had investigated the bottom of the Myriad Star Lake, but they had not encountered any terrifying beasts. This made Qin Yun feel even more at ease. After Qin Yun was ready, he left the Star Xianwu Academy and flew to the shore of the lake. After the sky turned dark, he searched for the 8 routes in the air. After he found the closest one to him, he dived down from the shore. The first node of the route was very close to the shore. He wanted to find the first node and see if there was a phenomenon at the bottom of the lake that corresponded to this route. A martial artist at his level could absorb the spiritual energy in the water through his skin to obtain air. He could not breathe for a long time. At night, the bottom of the lake was pitch black and nothing could be seen. Based on his memories, Qin Yun constantly dived into the area and swam around, searching for something special. After an unknown period of time, he dived to a very deep place. The pressure below was very great. If his body was not strong enough, he would not be able to dive that deep. Could it be that the Myriad Star Lake has no bottom? Qin Yun remembered that he had been diving for several hours. Although it was already dawn, it was still pitch black below. After diving for more than 10 hours, he suddenly discovered a strange place. Although there were waves in the Myriad Star Lake, it was only on the surface. In the deep waters, it was still terrifyingly calm. And now, Qin Yun felt a trace of warmth at the bottom of the ice-cold lake. Soon after, he quickly swam along the warm current. It's an undercurrent. Deep at the bottom of the lake, an undercurrent mysteriously appeared. Furthermore, it's very warm. Qin Yun was overjoyed. He felt that he had found the starting point of the route. Following that, he followed the warm current and swam forward. In the depths of the Myriad Star Lake, it was extremely cold, like ice water. If Qin Yun did not have the Thunderfire inner core, he would not have been able to withstand the cold. And now, he was in the warm current. It was as if he was soaking in extremely comfortable hot water. Furthermore, there was no strong pressure in the warm current. It made him feel very relaxed. There is indeed something hidden beneath the Myriad Star Lake, but it's not easy to discover. In the warm undercurrent, Qin Yun could sense that the undercurrent was extremely small. It could only accommodate one person. In such a huge lake, it was hidden in the depths, making it difficult to discover. If he had not seen the 8 routes from the star map, he would not have known the general direction. It would have been difficult to find this warm undercurrent. Qin Yun swam along the undercurrent and silently estimated the distance. There's a node up ahead. His estimation was quite accurate. Soon, he swam out of the first section of the undercurrent and entered the ice-cold lake. If he did not know the route, he would not have known how to find the undercurrent below. Fortunately, he remembered the route very clearly. Soon, he found the second section of the warm undercurrent and continued forward. Even if someone accidentally encountered an undercurrent, if they did not have a map, they would not be able to find the next section of the undercurrent. Qin Yun followed the undercurrent at the bottom of the lake and swam for a few hours. Finally, he reached the final node. In front of him were many boulders. It was a huge stone pillar that supported the island where the Star Xianwu Academy was located. This stone pillar had been investigated by many people, but none of them had been able to find anything. This was because, according to the legends, there was a strange power deep within the stone pillar that prevented people from continuing to dive. When Qin Yun swam to the final node, he felt a slight suction force pulling him down. This was also an undercurrent that flowed straight down. Chapter 256. The Crystal Palace at the bottom of the lake. After staying in the lake for so long, Qin Yin was no longer that afraid of the bottom of the lake, especially when he discovered that the warm undercurrent only made him feel more at ease. After diving for more than 10 hours, Qin Yin felt as if his body was slowly descending. There was no strong pressure at all. I've seen the bottom. From time to time, he would release his mental energy to investigate. Now, he suddenly sensed that the bottom was no longer bottomless. Instead, he could detect something. He hurriedly took out a glowing stone and threw it down. After the glowing stone fell, it illuminated the area below. When Qin Yun saw the bottom of the lake, he was pleasantly surprised. At the bottom of the lake, it was very clean. It was a crystal flat ground. It was very strange. Could it be man-made? Qin Yun looked at the crystal floor below and was puzzled. He originally thought that he would land on the crystal ground. Who knew that his body would actually penetrate the crystal and enter the crystal? What's going on? Could it be that there's more down there? Qin Yun recalled the rumors that many people had encountered a barrier when they dived down. However, he had already sensed that he had already passed through the barrier. After penetrating the thick crystal floor, he fell into a pitch-black stone room. There was no water below. Qin Yun took out the glowing stone, and after illuminating the stone room, he discovered that the four walls were filled with crystal stones. There was a door in the crystal room. He walked over and opened it. When he opened the door, Qin Yun was very excited because this door led to the secret of the Myriad Star Lake. After opening the crystal door, there was a very beautiful crystal corridor. The crystal walls were filled with glowing stones that could emit light all year round. The crystal corridor was very long. Qin Yun carefully stepped on the corridor, worried that there would be any traps. After walking for a few thousand meters, he finally reached the end. There was another crystal door. The secret of the Myriad Star Lake is inside. Qin Yun took a few deep breaths. His heart was beating wildly. His heart was filled with curiosity and fear. He was worried that after opening the door, he would encounter some kind of danger. Or perhaps there was some kind of 1,000-year-old ghost inside. In the end, he still pushed open the crystal door. He felt that since he was already here, if he didn't go in and take a look, he would think about this matter every day. Pushing open the crystal door, there was a spacious, circular hall made of crystal, bright and beautiful. The crystal hall was a few hundred meters wide. In the middle, there was a giant bull covered in golden armor. The giant bull's body was dozens of meters long, like a small hill. Its eyes were closed as it lay there. The horns of a giant bull were not bay like the horns of a dragon. The scales on its body were all dragon scales. This was the legendary dragon bull. Of course, it was very different from the legends. This Draco bull did not carry the small island. Instead, it was sleeping under the small island. In the spacious crystal hall, there was only this Draco bull, which seemed to be sealed here. What Qin Yin found strange was that the dragon bulls were so huge. How did they get in? Although I didn't get anything, I can confirm that the legendary dragon bulls do exist. Qin Yin was very curious about who built this crystal palace at the bottom of the lake. He didn't dare to go in and just stood at the door. If the Draco bulls were aggressive, he could retreat into the crystal corridor. Just as he was seriously observing the crystal hall, the Draco bull suddenly opened its huge eyes. Qin Yin jumped in fright and hurriedly retreated into the corridor. What a weak human. How did you get here? The Draco bull spoke. Its voice was slow and old, and was also very rough. Qin Yin composed himself and calmed himself down. He replied, I saw an array formation in the sky above the Myriad Star Lake. Then I discovered 8 routes. I entered the bottom of the lake and followed the routes to this place. So that's how it is. To be able to discover that array formation, one must possess many conditions. This shouldn't be something that a weak person can possess. The Draco Bull was extremely puzzled. Its pair of dragon-like eyes were filled with a dragon's might as it stared at Qin Yun. Maybe it's an opportunity. Qin Yun laughed dryly. He never expected that he would be looked down upon by this Draco Bull. Although this crystal palace was not prepared for you, it is indeed your opportunity to be able to come here. I believe you should have some ability. The Draco Bull did not pursue the matter of why Qin Yun was able to come here. It said, "How much do you know about this crystal palace?" Qin Yun shook his head and replied, "I don't know anything about it. On this lake, there is a small island. On the small island, there is a Star Xian Wu Academy. I'm a student of this academy. The Star Xian Wu Academy should have been created by that brat, Lan Xiao. He is obsessed with the Tao of star martial inscriptions." The moment he heard this name, he knew that it was given by him. The Draco Bull said, "The Star Xian Wu Academy was indeed built by the martial king Lan Xiao. The martial king Lan Xiao had lived for 10,000 years, but in the mouth of this Draco Bull, he was just a little ghost." "Senior Draco Bull, can you tell me about this crystal palace?" Qin Yun asked. "Is there a wave in the Myriad Star Lake? If there are no waves, you won't be able to see the star map." The Draco Bull asked. "Yes, it's been about a year since the wave started." Qin Yun nodded. "The ancient 9 suns are finally going to fall." The Draco Bull let out a long sigh. "The 9 desolate lands will forever fall into darkness." "Why the 9 suns fall? Is it related to the 9 Yang divine spirit and the 9 Yin divine spirit?" Qin Yun asked hurriedly. The legends were indeed true. The Myriad Star Lake had a strange array that could sense the evolution of the 10,000 stars. Therefore, when the 9 suns were about to die, the Myriad Star Lake had also sensed it and issued a warning. The 9 Yang divine spirit is taken from the 9 suns. However, as long as the 9 Yang divine spirit is still present, it will not affect the safety of the 9 suns. The reason why the 9 suns are in danger is because the 9 suns within the 9 suns have all separated from the 9 suns. The Draco Bull let out a long sigh. The 9 suns of the 9 suns are the foundation of the 9 suns. It's just like the martial spirit in your inner core. If your inner core didn't have a martial spirit, what would happen? Qin Yun took a deep breath. Where did the 9 suns' souls go? There are only 2 possibilities. Either they perish or they were taken away. The Draco Bull said, "It's also possible that the souls of the 9 suns sensed danger and scattered across the 9 desolate lands." The souls of the 9 suns were definitely very powerful. If he could obtain them, his strength would definitely increase greatly. "Senior, who built this crystal palace?" To be able to build such a powerful crystal palace, it must be very powerful. Qin Yun said. The Draco Bull chuckled. "So what if you can build the crystal palace? It's far inferior to the person who built the immortal graveyard." The Myriad Star Crystal Palace was actually related to the immortal graveyard. This caused Qin Yun to be alarmed. The immortal graveyard had a lot to do with Xie Qiru. As for Qin Yun's mother, because she had obtained the immortal graveyard diagram, she had also allowed him to obtain the recognition of the 9 Yang divine spirit. Therefore, Qin Yun was certain that the 9 Yang divine spirit was related to the immortal graveyard. Right now, he had not found any relevant clues because he was too weak. Furthermore, with the rampaging magical beasts, he was unable to cross the other side of the Cloud Dragon River. The master of the Crystal Palace, who is also my master, is already dead. The reason I stayed here was to protect this lake from being invaded by magical beasts. The Draco Bull's voice was filled with sadness. "Senior, magical beasts are rampaging outside now. There were no magical beasts in the past. Why is that?" Qin Yun felt that the Draco Bull might know something. The magical beasts come from the magical desolate land. They are demons from the magical desolate land. In order to find the immortal graveyard, they released a large number of magical beasts. This is something that Master and I met a long time ago. The Draco Bull said, The person buried in the immortal graveyard is the daughter of the first-generation demoness, who is also my young master. The person buried in the immortal graveyard was actually a woman, and it was the daughter of the demoness. Qin Yun did not know how powerful the demoness was. However, when he thought about how the demons in the magical desolate land had sent so many magical beasts into the Cloud Dragon Mountain range in order to find the immortal graveyard, he knew that they were definitely searching for something very important. With such a huge commotion in the magical desolate land, the various sects in the martial desolate land would definitely know about it. They might have already entered the Cloud Dragon Mountain range to investigate the immortal graveyard. In the immortal graveyard, the daughter of the demoness is buried. The 9 Yang Divine Spirit and the 9 Yin Divine Spirit are buried with her. Once this matter is spread, all sorts of demons and humans will head for the immortal graveyard. The Draco Bull continued. Qin Yun's heart skipped a beat. The 9 Yang Divine Spirit was in his hands, and the 9 Yin Divine Spirit was in Siekiru's hands. Back then, it was also Siekiru who had given him the 9 Yang Divine Spirit. Big Sister Grand Preceptor, how did she get the 9 Yang Divine Spirit and the 9 Yin Divine Spirit? She has entered the immortal graveyard. Qin Yun was extremely puzzled. Qin Yun looked around the hall and realized that other than the 8 crystal doors, there was also a light golden door. He asked, "Senior, where does that door lead to?" The other 8 doors all led to the outside, and the golden door seemed to lead to another place. That is the core of the Crystal Palace. Even I'm unable to open it. You'll know once you try. The Draco Bull said, "You must be very curious to be able to come here." Qin Yun nodded and quickly walked towards the light golden crystal door. When he arrived at the door, he placed his hand on the crystal and pushed hard. As expected, I can't push it. He sighed and released his inner force. After he released his inner force, the crystal door suddenly moved. Impossible! The Draco Bull's eyes widened as it shouted in shock. But I did push this door. Qin Yun was pleasantly surprised. He continued to release his inner force to push the golden crystal door. Just as he was pushing the golden crystal door, the 9 Yang Divine Spirit suddenly appeared on his right wrist. 9 black beads emitted a faint golden light. The 9 Yang Divine Spirit had been hidden in his flesh and blood for a long time and had never appeared on its own. However, just as he was about to push the door, it actually appeared on its own. How could a 9 Yang Divine Spirit be in your hands? You entered the immortal graveyard? The Draco Bull was astonished to the extreme. Its body suddenly emitted a burst of light, and after its huge body was wrapped in golden light, it gradually shrank. Very quickly, the originally huge Draco Bull turned into a small old man wearing a golden robe. He had a big nose, a head full of white hair, and 2 small dragon horns on his head. Chapter 257. Daughter of the Enchantress Qin Yun had already pushed open the door. Just as he was about to enter, the old man suddenly flashed and appeared behind him. He released a powerful force that enveloped his body. "Senior, what are you doing?" Qin Yun is unable to move. He is very alarmed because his 9 Sun Divine Spirit has been exposed. "Little demon, where did you get your 9 Sun Divine Soul? Not to mention you, even the immortals of the immortal desolate land are unable to enter the immortal graveyard. You definitely won't be able to go either. Quickly tell me, how did you get your 9 Yang Divine Spirit?" The old man was very anxious as he hurriedly asked. Suddenly, a gentle and pleasant voice came from the corridor behind the golden door. "Grandpa Nyo, don't make things difficult for him. I was the one who gave him the 9 Sun Divine Spirit." The draconic bull's skinny body suddenly trembled and it hurriedly knelt down. Young master, when did you come out?" After the power enveloping Qin Yun's body disappeared, Qin Yun hastily entered the passage. He is also greatly alarmed. That gentle and pleasant voice just now belonged to Siekiru. "Grandpa Nyo, I'll tell you later. This matter is too complicated. Just rest well." Siekiru's voice came from the corridor. Qin Yun quickly walked down the golden corridor as the golden crystal door gradually closed. The old man did not follow, but instead he heard his voice, understood. The daughter of the so-called MOG was buried in the immortal graveyard. The MOG was the master of the Dragon Bulls, and the Dragon Bulls addressed Siekiru as young master. That meant that Siekiru was MOG's daughter, but wasn't she buried in the immortal graveyard? Qin Yun walked to the end and opened the door. He entered a somewhat cold crystal room. The crystal room is surrounded by a faint silvery white color. In the middle, there's a light golden crystal bed. A woman is sitting cross-legged on the bed. Her back is facing Qin Yun. Her long hair hangs down her waist. She is wearing a pure white dress that covers the crystal bed. Xiao Yun, don't come near me. Siekiru sensed that Qin Yun is coming over and softly shouted, I am in danger now. I am worried that I will hurt you. Elder Sister Grand Preceptor, did those bitches from Empressy harm you? I have already killed them all. Qin Yun is very angry and said, No, but it has something to do with them. Anyway, it's all in the past. Siekiru's voice was filled with joyful laughter as she said, I'm very happy that you can come here. You've grown up really fast, much faster than I expected. Elder Sister Grand Preceptor, this is all thanks to the 9 Yang Divine Spirit. Qin Yun looked at the string of black beads on his wrist and asked, I obtained the runes in the first bead. What's in the second bead? Siekiru said, I don't know. I can only open the first bead. There were originally these runes inside. I'm not proficient in this Tao, so I left them inside for you. I didn't expect you to master them so well and understand the star charts so quickly. It was little Mei Yin who told me that the Myriad Star Lake was very beautiful at night. Then, I want to take a look and found a star map. Qin Yun said with a smile, Little Mei Yin also misses you very much. She really wants to meet you. She will definitely be able to see me in the future. Siekiru said with light smile, Seeing you all living well, I am very happy. If your mother knew, she would definitely be very happy. Elder Sister Grand Preceptor, what exactly happened to my mother's death? Me, little Mei Yin, Yuan Yuan Mei. Our mothers all died very strangely, and it has something to do with the immortal graveyard diagram. However, I feel that this matter is not that simple. When Qin Yun recalled his mother, he could not help but feel sad. Your mothers can still be resurrected. It's just that their souls are trapped in the immortal graveyard. As long as their souls can return, they can reconstruct their bodies in the future. Siekiru sighed faintly. It's all my fault. If I hadn't appeared in their small village, so many things wouldn't have happened. Qin Yun stood at the door and did not dare to move forward. He was very obedient to Siekiru. Siekiru paused for a moment and continued. You should already know that I am that MOG's daughter. Qin Yun nodded. But you should be in the immortal graveyard. That's right. However, my soul reincarnated and was reborn in your mother's small village. At that time, my memories were blurry, and it was only in the past few years that I gradually recovered. When we first obtained the immortal graveyard diagram, there were a total of 4 of them. Each of us had one, and the immortal graveyard diagram contained treasures. 2 of them contained the 9 Yang Divine Spirit and the 9 Yin Divine Spirit. These 2 immortal graveyard diagrams were obtained by your mother and me. At this point, Siekiru sighed softly. It's all my fault that my memories were blurry at that time. Otherwise, little Mei Yin's mother wouldn't have been bullied in the Tianqi Palace. Only you and Yuelan's mother had a good time. However, in the end, they all had the same fate. Their souls were devoured by the immortal graveyard diagram and sent to the immortal graveyard. Why is this happening? Qin Yun clenched his fists. This was how his mother died. The immortal graveyard diagram was made by my mother. If I were to reincarnate successfully, the immortal graveyard diagram hidden in the stars would fall down and be obtained by me. It will allow me to regain my strength and open the land of immortals in the future. Siekiru said, but later someone found that star. That person was unable to obtain the immortal graveyard diagram inside, but he was able to place a curse that sucked away the soul of the person who obtained the immortal graveyard diagram. Who is that person? Qin clenched his fist tightly. Siak Haru said, "Very powerful, an overlord of the immortal desolate." In short, the 9 Yang divine spirit and the 9 Yin divine spirit are no longer in the immortal graveyard. However, your mother's soul is still inside. As long as I save them, I have a way to revive them. Elder Sister Grand Preceptor, why were you buried in the immortal graveyard? Are you really an immortal? When Qin Yun heard that he and Xiao Yuelan's mother could be reborn, he was extremely happy. Siak Haru was amused by Qin Yun's words and chuckled repeatedly. She said with a smile, "You can say that. Anyway, you don't have to worry about me now. I'll get better after some time. As for you, don't be in a hurry to go to the immortal graveyard. If you go without sufficient strength, it will be very dangerous. You're shouldering the heavy responsibility of bringing your mother back to life. You can't take the risk." Elder Sister Grand Preceptor, were you very strong to begin with? Qin Yun felt that Siak Haru's father was definitely very powerful. That immortal graveyard might have been created by her father. Siak Haru said, "You can say that. There are still many things in the immortal graveyard, and there are many inheritances left behind, which is why many people covet it. However, that was done on purpose by the Creator to send many people to their deaths one after another, to provide a large number of souls to the immortal graveyard for the formation inside to absorb." Qin Yun really wanted to walk over and look at Siak Haru's beautiful face, but he didn't dare. Elder Sister Grand Preceptor, when will you get better? Qin Yun asked. It's hard to say now. In short, I'll be fine. Don't worry, Siru said softly. You must remember, without sufficient strength, do not approach the immortal graveyard. Qin Yun nodded heavily and said, I will remember this. Oh right, Elder Sister Grand Preceptor, what is the relationship between the creator of Blue Spirit Star Palace, Lan Xiao, and this Crystal Palace? He is my mother's disciple and specializes in the Star Martial Tao. He is a person with great potential, and I wonder how he is doing now. My mother seems to have instructed him to do something, so he hasn't returned here for many years. Siekaru sighed and said, I hope nothing will happen to him. I'm just afraid that my matters will implicate him. What is it? Qin Yun asked hurriedly. He could sense that Siekaru still had many things to say, especially things related to her. Don't ask too much. If you're strong enough in the future, I'll consider whether or not I should tell you. Siekaru giggled a few times. You little mischievous brat, if you know too much, you won't be able to cultivate in peace. Qin Yun said with a smile, Elder Sister Grand Preceptor, I'm really happy to be able to see you again. Especially after knowing that Mother can be revived, I will definitely work hard to make myself stronger and revive Mother. I'm very happy that you have this kind of heart. I had originally planned to impart some cultivation techniques to you, but I felt that the other pearls of the 9 Yang Divine Spirit might have cultivation techniques that are more suitable for you. Also, I'm worried that my cultivation technique will bring you trouble. If there's a chance in the future, I'll see if you're suitable to learn my cultivation technique. Siekaru said. Qin Yun was also secretly looking forward to opening the second pearl of the 9 Yang Divine Spirit to see what good things were inside. Then hurry up and leave this crystal palace. It's best if you don't come back in the future. I need to quietly recuperate, Siekaru said with some reluctance. Qin Yun's heart was filled with melancholy as he said, Elder Sister Grand Preceptor, the next time you see me, I will definitely become stronger. That's for the best. Goodbye, Xiaoyun. Siekaru's gentle laughter could be heard. Goodbye. Qin Yun left the room, and the door automatically closed. He walked out the golden corridor and saw the old man Dragon Bull outside. Little brother, how is the young master? Dragon Bull asked curiously. He should be fine. I don't know either. Qin Yun was somewhat vexed because Siekaru had concealed many things related to her. Grandpa Bull, come in. I have something to tell you. Xiaoyun, quickly go back. Siekaru's voice sounded as the old man walked into the corridor, trembling with fear. Qin Yun sighed inwardly as he returned the way he came. Although he knew a lot about Siekaru, he was still confused. Especially why was Xie Qiru buried in such a terrifying cemetery? And who was the person who built the cemetery? After spending a few days at the bottom of the Myriad Star Lake, he finally returned to the Star Sun treasure tree. Just as he returned, Du Gue came over with a pigeon and said, "Someone sent a pigeon message." The spirit pigeon said that it's looking for Qin Yun. Take a look at the message yourself. Qin Yun took the pigeon and removed a small note from its leg. He opened it and saw a line of beautiful words. Outside the Star, Xian Wu Academy, North Star Inn, Room 20 Qin. Chapter 258. Exploring the mausoleum, Qin Yun burned the note and greeted Du Gue. Then, he hurriedly left the Star Xian Wu Academy and went outside. Because the island where the Star Xian Wu Academy was located was the safest, there were many inns, hotels, and other buildings on the island, forming a city. Qin Yun asked around and found the North Star Inn. It was a relatively small inn, and there weren't many people. He entered the inn, found room 20, and knocked on the door. Soon, someone opened the door. When the door opened, Qin Yun saw a beautiful woman in a black dress with a dignified and noble air. It was Xiao Xianqin. "Andy Xiao." Qin Yun revealed a row of white teeth as he chuckled. "And come in quickly." Xiao Xianqin smiled and said hurriedly. After Qin Yun entered, he had just sat down when Xiao Xianqin served him a cup of tea. Then, she tied up her long hair that hung in front of her chest, making her look charming and charming. "Andy Xiao, long time no see. You should have stepped into the martial Dao realm." Qin Yun asked. "It's all thanks to you. If I hadn't dealt with the problem of my martial spirit, I wouldn't even know when I would have broken through." "Thank you again." Xiao Xianqin smiled like a delicate flower, revealing her pure white teeth. She was extremely beautiful. Qin Yun looked at the mature and elegant beauty in front of him and could not help but feel his mind waver. He hurriedly lowered his head to drink his tea. "Annie Xiao, you said that you have something important to do and want to go to the Tian Shao Imperial Tomb. What is it?" Qin Yun stood up and walked to the window, looking at the street outside. "I suspect that there is a secret regarding our Shao family in the Tian Shao Imperial Tomb. Don't you think it's strange that the talents of our Shao family disciples are all very good?" As Xiao Xianqin spoke, she took out a zither and gently stroked the strings, producing a moving sound. Qin Yun turned around and looked at the zither. He was slightly alarmed because some of the zither strings were not touched by his fingertips, but they were trembling and emitting a sound. It was Xiao Xianqin using her mental force to play. "It's indeed a little strange," Qin Yun said. "To be honest, I feel that our Shao family has quite a relationship with the Blue Spirit Star Palace. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Xiao Yanglong to have such prestige in the Blue Spirit Star Palace. Someone in Blue Spirit Star Palace must have taken a fancy to him. As the Crown Prince, he must know some secrets that we don't know about." Xiao Xianqin plucked the zither strings, smiled lightly, and said, "As a descendant of the Shao clan, I actually want to enter the mausoleum of my ancestor. I wonder if I will suffer retribution." "I thought you were a very old-fashioned person," Qin Yun said with a smile. "Is it because you and that girl you may have been together for too long that you have also become mischievous?" Xiao Xianqin giggled and laughed heartily. "Maybe. This girl is jumping up and down in the Divine Inscription Palace. Fortunately, she didn't cause any big trouble. Yuanmei actually didn't follow you. It's really strange." Qin Yun smiled. "Anyone can be absent from such matters, but that lass will definitely not be absent. She's in seclusion. I only came to discuss it with you when she was quiet. I am worried that she will cause trouble after entering the Tian Shao Imperial Tomb." Xiao Xianqin said, "Originally, I also want to look for Yuel on, but she didn't have the time. She said that you can come with me." "That's right. Xiao Wufeng also said that he doesn't have the time. It looks like only the two of us can go." "All right, when do we move?" Qin Yun asked. He also wanted to investigate the reason why the Shao clan's bloodline was so powerful. Xiao Yuelon and Xiao Yuemei already had the inheritance of the immortal graveyard diagram. Coupled with the mysterious bloodline of the Shao clan, they were even stronger. Xiao Lang, Xiao Yonglong, Xiao Xianqin, and the others were all talented. It could be seen that this was all because their bloodlines were strong enough. Let's go now, how about it? Xiao Xianqin said, the sooner the better. All right, up to you. Qinyan nodded. Xiao Xianqin changed into a set of light black night clothes and tied up her hair. She said to Qinyan, I've made you wait for a long time. Let's go. At night, Qinyan and Xiao Xianqin flew above the Myriad Star Lake towards the Tianshao Empire. As Qinyan flew over the Myriad Star Lake, he looked at the surface of the lake and could not help but think of Xiekro, who was in the Crystal Palace below. Just what kind of secret was this mysterious and beautiful woman hiding? Xiao Xianqin was a martial Dao realm cultivator. Qinyan did not need to worry too much about following her. Even if they encountered a spirit beast, with their strength, nothing would happen to them. Qinyan, do you have full confidence in challenging Xiao Yonglong? Xiao Xianqin asked. No. When Qinyan thought of this matter, his heart felt heavy. You must have confidence in yourself. I believe that you will definitely be able to defeat him. Xiao Xianqin smiled at Qinyan, her beautiful eyes filled with encouragement. Qinyan said, Many people think that I won't be able to defeat him. Why do you think I can? Xiao Xianqin laughed. You are a soul refiner. Just based on this, I believe that you can become very strong. It took you 2 years to become so powerful. This is simply a miracle. If I can't step into the martial Dao realm within a year, I might not be able to defeat Xiao Yonglong. Qinyan was somewhat worried about this matter. That was because when he stepped into the martial Dao realm, there were no pills that could help him advance. He could only rely on himself, slowly accumulate, slowly figure out his own path, and walk his own path of martial arts. Don't be discouraged. This kind of thing is hard to say. It's not that you have to take a long time to step into the martial Dao realm. Sometimes, when you suddenly comprehend your own martial Dao, your Vajra inner core will awaken and your inner force will rise, helping you step onto the path of martial Dao. Xiao Xianqin said. Qinyan nodded and memorized the words in his heart. Not long after, they flew out of the Myriad Star Lake and landed on the ground. You have to follow me closely. If anything happens to you, that girl Yuan will not be finished with me. Xiao Xianqin smiled mischievously as she warned Qinyan. I feel that Yuan is very protective of me, making me lose my dignity. Qinyan said with a wry smile. Xiao Xianqin laughed and said, Isn't that a good thing? For you to be able to be loved by such a strong woman, this is your ability. Many people can't even think about it. Qinyan and Xiao Xianqin traveled through the night on the ground. By daybreak, they had entered the Tianshao Empire. Xiao Xianqin brought Qinyan into a forest. After resting for 2 hours, they continued on their way. The Tianshao Imperial Tomb was built in a large mountain outside the Tianshao Imperial City. After entering the Tianshao Imperial Tomb, they spent half a day to arrive at the mountain where the Tianshao Imperial Tomb was located. There were originally many dense tree spirits here, but now they are all gone. Xiao Xianqin stood outside the mountain and said with a frown, It has become so desolate. It should have been destroyed by a horde of magical beasts. I wonder if there are any horde of magical beasts inside. Qinyan said, I'll just be careful when I go in. It's best if I go in at night. It's already half a day, and it's the time when the magical beasts are the most active. All right, let's wait here until it's dark. Xiao Xianqin looked at the small mountain in front of her and said, Let's dig a cave on that small mountain and hide inside. It'll be safer this way. They walked over, quickly dug a cave, and rested inside. The sky was dark and the wind outside was relatively strong. It blew up a lot of sand and dust, causing the mountain in front of them to be covered in sand. Qinyan and Xiao Xianqin carefully walked through the sand and dust. They were extremely vigilant as they constantly used their mental power to probe their surroundings. If there were any magical beasts nearby, they would immediately discover them. After entering the desolate mountain, the sand and dust lessened by a lot. The ground was filled with the footprints of magical beasts, and the remaining magical beast auras were extremely dense. I really didn't expect that there would be So many magical beasts here. It looks like it should be a large magical beast horde. Qin Yun sensed the aura around him and looked at the gigantic mountain that was thousands of meters tall. He said, "Is the Tianshao Imperial Tomb at the foot of that mountain?" And there are a total of more than 100 mountains here, and they're also very spacious. The magical beast horde shouldn't have chosen that mountain, right? Xiao Xianqin was also somewhat worried. If it was a magical beast horde with a few spirit beasts, they would not be able to deal with it. Let's go take a look first. Qin Yun used his shadow power to conceal his aura. Xiao Xianqin suddenly could not see Qin Yun and could not help but be alarmed. She shouted softly, "Qin Yun, where are you? Why did you suddenly disappear?" Qin Yun suddenly held her lily-white hand and said with a smile, "I have an ability that allows me to hide in the darkness. I'll try and see if I can transfer this power to you and allow you to merge into the darkness." Xiao Xianqin held Qin Yun's hand tightly. She was very worried that something would happen to Qin Yun. Qin Yun felt a trace of warmth coming from her soft, lily-white hand. He was secretly surprised that Xiao Xianqin had been preparing her internal supreme force all this time. He said softly, "Aunt Xiao, relax your entire body." After Xiao Xianqin relaxed, she suddenly felt a cool feeling coming from Qin Yun's palm. It entered her arm and quickly spread throughout her body. Not long after, she discovered that her body had merged into the darkness and her aura could not leak out. She was enveloped by that strange, cool energy. "Hee, it's a success," Qin Yun said with a happy smile. "This time, we won't be discovered by the magical beasts. This kind of power is really powerful." Xiao Xianqin praised before pulling Qin Yun's hand and slowly climbing up a mountain. Xiao Xianqin held Qin Yun's hand and could not help but have a strange feeling in her heart. She did not know why she had such a feeling, but it made her heart race. Qin Yun was fine. He only felt that Xiao Xianqin was holding his hand more and more tightly. After they crossed a few mountains, they suddenly stopped. "There are magical beasts," Xiao Xianqin suddenly said in a low voice as she looked at the canyon between the two mountains. "And I sensed it too. Be careful," Qin Yun said softly. "Hold on tight. I'm worried that your shadow power will suddenly disappear." Xiao Xianqin was no longer holding onto Qin Yun's hand. Instead, her fingers were tightly intertwined with Qin Yun's. This handshake caused Xiao Xianqin's heart to inexplicably beat faster. "And Xiao, let's go." Qin Yun's voice was heard, causing Xiao Xianqin to regain her senses. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.